Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined on this, I think it's fair to say, landscape altering week, at least Stardom landscape altering week, by my co-host, my friend. He's your friend. He's everybody's friend. It's Mr. Matt Turner. How are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, I am fantastic, and this is obviously a busy week for us on the Stardom Cast as we are dropping not one, not two, but 3 episodes on the free feed as well as stuff on the Patreon. Now, for you, everybody watching on YouTube, this is a little bit of a teaser. Because in my hand right here, 2 brackets, 2 filled out brackets between me and my beautiful, beautiful wife, Amber, and this one right here, Rob. This is the one that she threw at me. Very upset
Threw
with
at
me.
you.
She literally threw at me, and as I was picking it up, you text me, and I was like, "Oh, great timing! I just want to let you know I'm excited for our 2. We're recording these episodes back to back. Obviously, the Korakuen Hall review, and we're going to be doing the our Cinderella tournament brackets. But as I was picking up said bracket that she threw at me, you sent me a text message literally within about 15 seconds, and I said, Amber just threw her bracket at me. Very upset with my picks. We'll get into that in this one. Again, this is for everybody to listen and watch the next episode. The reason why. And I'm so excited. I'm even more excited to talk to you about what our Cinderella brackets are.
Wow.
But brother, I'm doing great. I told you off air that concert season starts for me next Sunday. Me, Jeff, and my dad are going to Seven Dust. So big fan of Seven Dust at the Sherman Theater in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. One of my favorite venues to see a show because it's a very small venue, and it's basically one ticket and you get to go anywhere you want. It's basically a big mosh pit. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the slew of shows we have coming up between the Cinderella tournament on Collision. On Saturday, we have Momo Watanabe versus Serena Deeb. And obviously, we have Momo Watanabe versus Mercedes Monet. Then on Monday, we have Saoriism with Syuri versus Saori. So a lot of great stuff. Plus, not only is this a landscaping episode of the Stardom cast of certain things going on, but also at the tail end, Io and Kairi watch is a very important episode, Rob. Very important episode. Super excited. A lot of great stuff to talk about. How's everything on your end? I know when I talked to you a little bit yesterday that you were playing football and you said that you did not hurt anybody and you didn't get hurt either. So that to me is a win, buddy. But how was that? How did that go? Did you at least win the game, or how did you play?
It was only training. So again, take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but we appear to be trending upwards. No injuries to me, no injuries to other people, which is great. We will see about how it goes on Sunday and if we can put it all into practice. But yeah, I'm good. It's been a week, as I'm sure any fans of Stardom will attest to. There's been some groundbreaking announcements, and obviously all of the stuff coming out of Korakuen Hall. But honestly, it would feel unfair. I mean, we need to start with the biggest story coming out of Stardom, and that is Maika's corruption of her rookies. I don't know if you saw this at the press conference, but Rian and Hanako both pumping those beers. It's apparently Maika is just rubbing on the younger generation of Stardom, and I think it needs to be halted instantly.
Rob, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. In the 3 years we've been doing this podcast together, there's very few times me and you disagree. I'm going to disagree with you on that one because support. It was a Sapporo beer,
It
clearly
was.
clearly a sponsor of Stardom of not Stardom Cast. Maybe they should be. Clearly a sponsor of Stardom, which obviously Maika is known as the biggest beer drinker in the entire locker room that is Stardom.
So yeah, apparently.
And especially during our meet and greet when we gave her a Stardom Cast beer and she said in perfect English after we popped her, "You guys must know me really well." And then tweeted said picture out, putting over the Funk Brewing Stardom Cast beer. But again, I'm going to disagree with you because, I'm in sales, I'm in merchandising, I'm in marketing. It's a great way to merchandise and market your beer. So Mike is actually doing a really good job helping get out the Sapporo beer, which ultimately is only going to help grow that company and then help Stardom out overall. Tam and Sai Kamatani and Mayu obviously helping drawing tickets, as well as Maika. But Maika is pushing something that nobody else really has the opportunity to, and that's Sapporo beer. And she can only push it so far. She figured, well, I already have these members in my faction, and Rian just turned 20, which, as from what I understand, is the legal drinking age over in Japan. So not only was Rian spotted drinking a beer, she did it at a press conference for the second biggest tournament of the season for Stardom. So a great platform, and she properly slammed that beer. All
Stone Cold
90,
Steve Rian.
yeah, absolutely. Get her some knee braces. She's ready to go. She's already thrown the gang signs, Rob. Maybe if she just, maybe if she removes this one finger, Rob, then she's right there. Then she's right there. But yeah, that was another, to the shock of no one, a really fun press conference. But hey, they're doing a good job getting the Sapporo beer brand name out there. Good on Stardom, good on EXV, and really good on Maika.
Yeah, Broken Skull Rian is probably the next gimmick we are going to see in one of the Stardom Battle Royales that I imagine we are going to be seeing soon. But yeah, obviously we're going to be talking about the loser leave Stardom match, which is the biggest news arguably of the last, well, God knows how long in Stardom. We're going to be talking all the fallout of that, where it's led people falling on both sides of sort of opinion when it comes to the stipulation and how it was handled at Korakuen, and then how it was handled sort of following that with the press conference the next day. Obviously, we had Starlight Kid attacked in the most Starbucks way I've ever seen in my life by Konami. Vicious attack. And then we've got a whole host of news and stuff coming out of Stardom. One thing I will say today is we are going to be reviewing New Blood 19. We are going to be reviewing Stardom Night in Korakuen, obviously the big show that we're going to be talking about, including a huge, fantastic breakout match for Lady C. But we will only be reading through the results from Chiba because last time I checked, which was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon my time, it's 6:15 now. It still hadn't been uploaded to Stardom World, the show from the second, so we won't be talking about that. But from the stuff that I've read and things like that, apart from Konami officially challenging for the wide belt, it doesn't look like we missed too much in terms of storyline, Matt.
Yeah, again, we're just going to be reviewing the New Blood show and then the Korakuen show, and spending a lot of time on Tam and Sai Kamatani for obvious reasons. But pending on the schedule for next week, it looks like next week we just have night 1, night 2 of the Cinderella tournament, and maybe we'll kind of just go through the show from the second in Chiba just to kind of give our star ratings, or just to say, hey, these are the matches I watched. If you have not got a chance to watch it, these are the ones to go to, just for the completest of our listeners. And that is me as well, because I have skipped 5 pages in my notebook in between New Blood and Korakuen Hall for the Chiba for that show on the second. So I'm assuming probably we'll get to that hopefully in a day or two, because I know Marigold, there's 3 shows that we have to cover for now. That's up on Wrestle Universe for next week. So a lot of great stuff, Rob Goodwin, that we are watching, not only for Stardom Cast, not only for the Marigold Standard, but a lot of great stuff on the Patreon coming up as well.
And it's funny you should mention Matt Turner, the Patreon, because you're just king of the segue, I'm afraid, king of the transition. Matt, before we get into everything, before we get into all the stuff that is happening, please, oh please, tell us what's coming up on Patreon this week.
Patreon this week, our alternate commentary, which we released just the other day. Myself and Rob Goodwin take a look back at the Instant Classic match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship from All-Star Grand Queendom last year, as Hanan challenges one Saori Anou. Our alternate commentary for next week, we go to the finals of the final night of the Cinderella tournament back in 2022, as Mei Suruga challenges Azumi for the High Speed Championship in one of the best High Speed Championship matches of all time. Also, this weekend, as we are getting ready for Momo Watanabe versus Mercedes Moné, this weekend you will not have not 1 but 2 Momo Watanabe matches up on your feed for the $10 tier Patreon members. Is it still 5 stars? Myself and Andy had a look back at a match that I deem 5 stars. Pretty much everybody else that's ever seen this match deems it 5 stars. Momo Watanabe and Syuri from the 2021 5-star Grand Prix final, and then matches with Matt I go back to Korakuen Hall, talking about Korakuen Hall quite a bit on this episode. Korakuen Hall towards November of 2023, Maika taking on Momo Watanabe in the tournament for the vacant World of Stardom Championship. And that was a great match and just a molten hot crowd. So a lot of great stuff coming up on the Patreon, a lot of stuff already there. And later on this month, we will be doing Mariah May. We'll be looking at her 2023 5-star Grand Prix run, as well as Momo Watanabe and Jungle Kiona rivalry review. And then on the free feed, because I'm almost done with the homework. I believe we're recording next week. Me and Andy Header. We're going to be looking back at the entire 2019 Cinderella tournament. So a lot of great stuff coming up on the Patreon, past, present, and future, my friend.
Yeah, we've got a lot coming up, and it's great to have Andy on board. He's doing some absolutely wonderful work with yourself. Thank you to every single one of you that subscribes over on our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardomcast. Just a quick reminder that obviously for those of you who can't subscribe or commit to subscribing, we completely understand. Each of those episodes is available for $3 as an individual download. So just in case that fits your budget a little bit better than a monthly commitment. Right. It's only fair. Let's start with the big news. The actual big news this time. Fukigen Death broke out the... No, I'm joking.
That is big news.
That is
big news.
Possibly one of the greatest 3.5-minute matches I've ever seen, by the way. Brilliant. But no, obviously, following the main event of Korakuen Hall, Tam Nakano lost the loser leaves Stardom match against Saya Kamatani in what I think is fair to call an interference-heavy match in the main event. She is therefore forced to leave Stardom. Now, this stipulation did not last all that long initially, or at least that's how it looked, because about 2 minutes later, she basically begged Saya Kamatani for one more chance. She was the Christian of Stardom. One more match. And Saya Kamatani agreed, basically saying that it's time you put your career on the line. So at Yokohama, as we sort of guessed it would be, it is a retirement match between Tam Nakano and Saya Kamatani. I believe for the World of Stardom Championship. It would make sense to be for the World of Stardom Championship if the loser is going to retire. So obviously, Matt, this is a huge angle. The impending retirement of any wrestler is obviously huge. The fact that Stardom have, it seemed initially like they might renege on the stipulation. However, the following day, they did the press conference for the Cinderella tournament where they announced the brackets. And they also announced that Tam Nakano is now a freelancer, which I thought was a nice touch. She's still going to appear on some, and that was stressed, some select Stardom shows in the lead up to Yokohama. But for all intents and purposes, she is appearing as a freelancer in a similar way to Fukigen Death, for example, who is still a freelancer. There's a lot to go into here. First of all, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, there was some people who felt, I know that some of the words I read in one review were, I felt cheated in the loser leaves Stardom match because effectively Tam is still going to be wrestling in Stardom despite losing the loser leaves Stardom match. What are your thoughts towards that sort of side of it, as well as the whole build as a whole anyway?
Sure. Obviously, we're going to be reviewing. It's a little probably the last thing we do. One of the last things we do as we get to the end of this podcast. That phenomenal match of the year candidate between Sai and Tam, and another record-breaking Korakuen Hall attendance. The Stardom is just crushing. I see people's point of view. I do. And I did have a couple people messaging me saying, Matt, what was the point of this if they were just going to go back on the stipulation? I mean, you have talked both off and on air, and a lot of the other listeners of this show have talked off air. saying this isn't going to be the final match between the two. They're clearly using this Korakuen Hall show for something bigger. And then when it was announced that they were going to put this match free on YouTube, like, okay, clearly Stardom wants to get this match on as many eyes as possible. What's the reason why, other than it's going to be a great match? Because Saya and Tam don't miss. They do not miss at all. I mean, you can go back to even their match in the 2021 Cinderella tournament. One of the craziest over the top rope eliminations of all time happened in that match. Then they've had 3 matches for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Obviously, their match for the red belt back a couple of months ago at Dream Queendom was great, and this was great. So, and we knew it was going to be great. So it's like, okay, clearly they want this on as many eyes as possible, because we weren't sure, as this match had 7 days to build, is this going to be on Stardom World? Is this going to be another pay-per-view? Because the last show in Korakuen Hall was a pay-per-view, a Supreme fight with Saya and Suzu, and a phenomenal show. So we weren't sure how this was going to go about when they announced a day or two prior. No, we're putting this match. The whole show is going to be on Stardom World for your $6. However, this match we want to give to free on everybody on YouTube. I'm like, okay, clearly they're using this as an advertisement. So again, folks, I've been watching wrestling on a permanent basis since like 85, 86, since I was like 4 or 5 years old. These retirement matches, loser leaves matches, they don't stick. They don't stick. And it's like, if they were going to do this, as we mentioned last week, you would have done it on a bigger show. Yokohama Budokan, maybe Oda Ward. Obviously, we have those shows coming up in the next week or two, or you would have done it at All-Star Grand Queendom, because everybody's dead set on doing 10,000 tickets, which we'll obviously, we'll get into in a moment. So it's like, why would you do it in Korakuen Hall when you can the highest you can draw is 1,600 people? You're leaving money on the table, not doing this in a bigger venue. This is a big match, Tam versus Saya, for your basically loser leave Stardom. And again, putting it free on YouTube. And then the match finishes. And again, it was a great match. And then it clearly announced right afterwards, they're going to do one more match, Yokohama, loser title on the line, wrestling career on the line. So again, Teruka did say, we never said it was career. It was just loser leave Stardom. There's a whole bunch of other promotions people can go to. Now, whoever loses this match must retire, will never be able to, for wrestling, never be able to wrestle again, which obviously, we will get into that a little bit later on. So again, I only had maybe a couple people who were just like, well, they went back on the stipulations. Like, okay, I understand that. Same time, it's a business. This was a commercial to sell tickets for Yokohama. Again, over 1,600 people. They broke the record again. 1,600 people, Rob, watched this live in Korakuen Hall. You couldn't put another person in that building with a crowbar. I can tell you that, because that thing was, and I watched this match 3 times. And I tell you what, I watched the end of the YouTube video, and the people that were coming, that left, it was like, oh my goodness, there's so many people in this building. Not only that, but I think they said something like people were watching this live. 58,000 people watched this live. In less than 24 hours, this video on YouTube had over 300,000 views.
That's what I'm just checking now. So
I think it's close to 400. I think it's close to
380,000 streams it is at the moment, which I'm currently just scrolling through the live views, and I am on All-Star Grand Queendom 2023, obviously the first match, and there's nothing even close. I mean, the Grand Queendom press conference got 141,000, and that was in 2023, and that's the closest that I can find, which is 203,000 for the Supreme Fight 2023. 240,000 for New Blood, but again, there's nothing that's getting close to the 380,000 that have streamed the Tam versus Saya match so far.
And that's, as we're recording this, it's the 6th, so that's 3 days. That's 3 days from now. So it's only going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, probably from me alone, because I absolutely love this match. So again, like, once this got over with and you see the views, and like, this was a commercial to sell tickets for Yokohama, and it was a brilliant move. And again, I understand, well, she didn't retire. Oh, I get it. At the same time, it's a business. For every one person that messaged me or that I saw on social media that was upset that they went back on the stipulation, I had 2 or 3 more people tell me, guess what, I bought my ticket for Yokohama. Every person that had messaged me that they bought their ticket for Yokohama for All-Star Grand Queendom, none of them live in Japan. So you're telling me I probably had a dozen, maybe a little bit more people either message me or I saw on social media that was, and about an hour or two after this match was like, yeah, I bought my ticket. So I was like, let's take a step back. So you're telling me you bought your ticket for a show in a country that you don't live in. So not only did you buy your ticket, you have to get a hotel room. You have to take time off work. I don't know if these people are married or have kids. I don't know. You have to figure that, that time away from your family, and you got to book a flight, all based on one match that just happened an hour or two ago. Rob Goodwin, to me, that is mind-blowing. I've never heard of anybody doing that outside of a big like WWE match. Like that is absolutely insane that people are like, no, I'm going to Japan. I bought my ticket. I'm flying this based on one match. That's smart business. That's smart business. And I sent you and Andy Header a message about 3 or 4 hours after this show. You know me, I'm a numbers person. Again, the numbers, wrestling's subjective. You can like what you like. The numbers don't lie. I checked the ticket sales. 4 of these like 18 sections in Yokohama are showing few tickets left, and 5 sections are sold out. 3 hours after this match was made, and I know it doesn't have a match graphic, Rob, but bear with me. After this match was,
how can it be official, Matt
yeah,
Turner, without a match graphic?
So from a business aspect, was this a success? Oh hell yeah. Oh hell yeah. You broke the record for Korakuen Hall again. You have over a quarter of a million people watch this match 8 to 10 hours after it happened, between live and that same day. A quarter million people for Stardom. That is insane. Again, over a dozen people either messaged me or I saw on social media saying, yeah, I bought my ticket for All-Star Grand Queendom, that don't live in Japan. So now you have the extra expense of hotel room, flight, based on this match. Tam Versailles is working. What they're doing is working. For the few people that will disagree with me, you cannot disagree with me that the fact that what they did here in Korakuen Hall from a business aspect was pure genius. Poor genius, because not only did they make the money on your ticket sales for Korakuen, and they're making money still right now, probably as we're talking, making money on ticket sales for Yokohama. YouTube makes money. Folks, YouTube is a big driver for money. When you have 300,000 and counting, that's ad revenue that they're making. This was a financial success in every aspect. So it's, again, you're asking the question, Rob, what did I feel about it? I get it. I understand people were a little bit upset. At the same time, if you really thought this was going to be the final match that they were doing and they were going to give it to you free on YouTube, it's a business, folks. It's a business. I mean, you talked off air the other day when we were doing alternate commentary, and that, the people that were upset, that's like saying you only went to your job today so you can get money to pay your bills. Well, yeah, that's majority of the reason why most of us work, so we can pay our bills and live the lives we want to live. People are like, the only reason why Stardom did this is it was a clickbait for YouTube and to sell tickets for Yokohama. Well, yeah, of course. And it's going to be a great match. And I know you'll get into it in a minute. They added the stipulation, no seconds, no interference, which is the one little thing I didn't like about this match, which we'll get into at the end of this podcast. But this was a brilliant move for Stardom. And again, you can't deny that it's not. And if you're denying it, that this wasn't a smart move, then you just don't understand business. You don't understand ticket sales, because they sold a lot of tickets and they're going to continue to sell a lot of tickets. I don't know if they're going to get that 10,000 number, Rob, but if they can get 5,800 and break the record from 2 years ago, to me, I think that's a smash success. I really do.
Just on what you've said about Yokohama, I think if you get 8,000 in there, which is still a huge amount, I think if you can break the current record in terms of Stardom attendance is 7,000. I believe it's 7,142 from the first historic crossover, but that's a joint promoted show with New Japan. If they can get that on a sole promoted show, I think they'd be over the moon, even if they don't reach that 10,000 mark. I think this is the best possible opportunity for Stardom to do that. They're the hottest they've ever been. They have an angle that's one of the hottest they've ever done. And when was the last loser retires match in Stardom? I don't think there ever has been one. So all of those things, and again, like you've said, they moved tickets with one match again. And Tam and Saya are hot. Now, I love the match. I thought the match was fantastic. I actually really like the stipulation as well. Leaves a lot open. I think a lot of people are leaning towards Tam being the one to retire because, Saya Kamatani is only in her late 20s and is at the peak of her career. And we've talked a little bit about this, and I'm sure we will do a little bit more when we talk about the Cinderella tournament. So again, playing devil's advocate, I do like the way that they've done this. I think it's smart because ultimately, and I think with the power of hindsight in the press conference, Stardom have sort of doubled down and say, yeah, she is going to turn up on some of the shows, but as a freelancer, she's not part of Stardom anymore. To the point where she's been removed from Cosmic Angels on the new Stardom website, which has been updated and is very, very good, far better than the old one. She's been removed and has been put as a freelancer. She's been moved back into Cosmic Angels now, but it still says freelancer in brackets next to it. I think that adds at least a little bit of an air of legitimacy to it. What do you think then of, and again, playing devil's advocate, what do you think of the potential that, so you've had, it's not a swerve. I don't think this is a swerve at all. I don't think anyone really anticipated this being the last match. We all knew that Yokohama was coming up, and it was one of two matches that was going to main event. Saya and Tam or Saya and Maika. And Saya and Maika is clearly is on another program with Hate and with Tekla in particular. Whether that's the Yokohama program, I don't know. And I'll be brutally honest, I hope not. I feel like Maika
Hashimoto.
deserves. Yeah,
I feel like Hashimoto. Yeah,
fingers crossed. Especially after that Sendai Girls match. But there are some that said, right, okay, well, you've got the stipulation here that has been, they've sort of doubled back on. You've got a retirement match here in Yokohama where there are people who, myself included, believe that the Cinderella tournament is going to play a significant part in that stipulation. Stardom run the risk then of diluting these big stipulations. So you double back on it at Korakuen. You might potentially double back on it at Yokohama as well. And I know this is wrestling, and I know stipulations don't stick. Ric Flair's retired 830 times, and that's nothing to the Great Muta. But there is a chance that you will lose a portion of your audience's believability when you then announce another big stipulation, because you're like, okay, well, I already know that the chances are this isn't going to stick, so it doesn't quite hold the same gravitas to me. What are your thoughts towards that sort of, because that, for me, that's a legitimate gripe.
Sure.
It doesn't particularly bother me because, again, wrestling is a business and you're looking to do as much money as you possibly can. And, I'm intrigued with the journey. We can talk about the destination when we get there. The journey is really exciting. But I do think that is a legitimate concern that, yeah, this is great. The build-up's been fantastic. However, what about the next time they do a hair versus hair match, for example? How are they going to get out of that? Or next time they do a loser leaves Japan match, how are they going to get out of that? And you do set a little bit of a dangerous precedent by repeatedly doubling back on stipulations. What are your thoughts on that?
No, right. I'm going to tiptoe around this because I think we should. I think I know where you're going, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And obviously, if we're on the same page, which I think we are, which we usually are, which hey, good on us. That I want to save it for the Cinderella bracket, which again, it's folks, we're doing these back to back, so it's just boom, right into another. Back to the Future 1 and the Back to the Future 2.
I will just point out that by the time people hear this, the Bracketology episode will have already dropped.
Oh, okay. So
people will know what we've said anyway.
Okay. Well, I mean, just in case if they wait till next week or the day of the Cinderella and they listen to it in other order, which obviously is fine. So I think where you're going with is again, as of right now, I think we're the firm believer that because Kamatani goes over in Yokohama, Tam has to retire, and then the wish comes into play. Is that what you're saying? And then, well, Tam has lost twice, but now she's still in Stardom. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that. And you're like, well, it's a stipulation. It's sort of stuck. Okay, I understand that. But what
did technically stick?
Exactly. It's stuck. What brought Tam back? Another stipulation that overrides it, right? And again, a lot of people might be saying, "Well, Matt, you're just saying that because you're a TAM fan." I am. I'm also a Stardom fan, and I say
Yeah.
this all the time on the pod. I love Stardom. I will tell you right now, I love Marigold. What I'm watching in Sendai Girls is great. I love AEW, WWE, NXT, Stardom. It's not even close. Is my favorite pro wrestling promotion. So again, a lot of people are like, and they said, "Well, Matt, you're only saying this because you're a TAM fan," which again I am, but I'm a Stardom fan. What is best for business? What is best for business is if Tam goes away for a little bit and then comes back, and then we get the chase again towards the end of the summer into the end of the year, which is a possibility. Probably it's probably, but you take a look at kind of what they're doing with Saya and Tam. It's clearly working. It's clearly working,
Absolutely.
and this is going to be the last one at least for a little bit. Again, I
Has
don't.
to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to cool it down, and then we'll bring in the Maika for the challenge because Maika's beaten Kamatani twice last year when Maika was red belt champion, and then at the end of not the end of the year, but the end of the 5-star. Simple story to tell there. Soriano, we know that she's going to be getting a title shot sometime after this, especially with the little hard way blood that happened and just that cold hard stare. We know Natsupoi is probably going to be in the mix as well. Hopefully Syuri, hopefully Rob Goodwin. Sorry, that's a possibility as well because we haven't seen really Saori come up on any big show. She hasn't wrestled a Marigold since she dropped the Crimson Red Belt Championship to Utami, and she's got this big match with Syuri. There's a lot of stuff they have on deck for Saya Kamatani, so there's more for Saya to do if she wins this match in Yokohama than Tam. But as far as the stipulation goes, I mean, Stardom really, I think every time they've done a stipulation, they've pretty well stuck to it. Julia lost the hair match. She wind up getting her head shaved, and because Julia is so good that she made it a thing and
Still like a badass, yeah.
got herself more over. Whenever these factions split up or somebody lose or leaves faction, that always happens too. Even when Mayu won the rights to win Starlight Kid back, she won the rights back, and Starlight Kid was, screw you, I'm just going with the Wedo tie. And Mayu's like, what? I just went through this war, putting more sympathy on Mayu and more heat on Starlight Kid. So they do stick to these stipulations. Again, it's pro wrestling. I've seen this all the time with Ric Flair retiring, with Kevin Nash retiring. It's like, at the end of the day, it's what's best for business. And I think that this is a really good way to give Tam a break, put more heat in the best way possible on hate, because that whole Korakuen show was heat
all
on
about
hate.
hate on.
It was
It
heat
was.
on hate in a good way, not go away hate, not just to the point like, oh my God, can somebody finally stop this brand that is hate? And they're mowing through everybody. So yeah, it's really interesting to see. Again, I'm all for it. I'm excited for the journey. And again, I just want Stardom just keep getting bigger and better. And clearly that's what they're doing by the numbers that we're seeing and the buzz that they are getting. The buzz that they are getting is just absolutely unreal. It really is. I mean, obviously, Rob, you've been covering this Stardom for almost 6 years, and I've been covering it for the better part of 3.5 years. Considering the fact that there's no Rossio Gawa booking, no Tommy, no Julia, it's the hottest they've ever been. So clearly they're doing a lot. Not only that, but look at the ticket sales for Mania weekend. From what I understand, there's less than 100 remaining on the Friday show, and the Thursday show is almost sold out. I might have that reversed, but regardless, like they're selling really, really well. So they're clearly doing something right. I'm along for the ride. I'm all for it. Again, I'm all about what's going to be best for business for Stardom, and clearly they're doing that. The other asterisk is it just put the white belt on Hazuki.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree with that. My only real gripe, if I can speak now personally, as opposed to as a devil's advocate, my only little gripe is I would have loved to have seen Tam not be on a show till Yokohama. And I mentioned this to you just to really drive home, right, you can have this one shot, but you ain't coming back. And had there been like big shows in the interim, I'd have maybe been a little bit more reticent and said, no, okay, let's have Tam on these shows. But the Cinderella tournament, as we're going to talk about in a moment, isn't centered around the bigger stars, the main event stars. They're not relying on those stars to sell tickets. I would have loved to have seen them sort of take a stance and go, right, okay, Tam's not going to be on a show until the 27th of April. And I don't think Stardom ticket sales would be affected by that. I actually think that would build anticipation for the Yokohama show. That's my only one. And obviously, at the point of recording, we only know the card for one show, and that's the Cinderella tournament first round. Tam is on that card, but there's nothing to say that she's going to be on the second night or the final night. We don't know. So again, that's a personal little thing, and it is minute. I'm going to be really interested to see what happens with this retirement match, because I think everyone who watches Stardom is of the opinion that Tam is losing that match as well. There's no way Saya loses that match. There's no way Saya retires.
There is, Rob. I'm in agreement with you. Obviously, we will do our review in, geez, like 7 weeks time. I mean, really, they're building this up and giving it almost 2 months to breathe, which I'm great with, fine with. There is some people, a lot more than I thought. It was like, there's no way Tam's losing. And they gave me reasons behind it. There is a lot of people that are put, and that's what you want to do. You want to blur those lines of like, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? But I know you made mention hours after this match was made. Like, I would love to see Tam not on Stardom shows, or maybe on one every now and again. It was the next day they announced she was a freelancer. I was like, ooh, that's what Rob was hoping to do. Now I understand the match that she's announced for. It's her and Starlight Kid versus Kamatani and Saya. So again, you have Tam on one side, Saya on the other, and you need to draw tickets for the Yokohama Budokan. It is a big, big venue on night one of the Cinderella tournament. Considering the fact there's no massive stars in the tournament like we've seen before, you need that match to help draw tickets. Not only that, but you got Kid on one side, Konami on the other. We know in a week's time we're going to see them on the final night of the Cinderella for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And again, Tam on one side, Sai on the other. One, it's going to be great. Two, it's going to draw tickets. And three, they're going to be competing for the World of Stardom Championship in Yokohama, like we just mentioned. So I understand that. I would like to see Tam appearing on like Tokyo Joshi Pro or Sendai Girls or Ice Ribbon, stuff like that. Rob, I'm hoping we see her all over Mania weekend. I would love to see her in the Cluster F Battle Royal on spring break. I would love to see her compete at Bloodsport. She's a freelancer. And I know I have friends of mine that have competed on the independent. Tony Deppen told me the 1 year at WrestleMania, like 5-6 years ago, that he made more money on WrestleMania weekend than he did in almost the entire year combined, because there's so many shows. I would love to see Tam show up on like 7-8 random shows, because she is a freelancer now, Rob. I would love to see that. But just to kind of go back on what you said a minute or two ago, like, you don't think it's going to hurt ticket sales if Tam's not on these shows. I think it may hurt a little, but at the same time, sometimes you have to take a step or two back to take 3 or steps forward. So I think if they leave Tam off these shows, and it hurts ticket sales just a little bit, one, they're doing fine. Stardom's doing fine with ticket sales over the last 6-7 months. They're doing fine with YouTube views, YouTube subscriptions, that they can afford to take a hit in order to really, really drive home Yokohama coming up in just about 2 months' time. So again, I'm really interested to see where they go with it. And it's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of intrigue going on. From what I understand, Sai Kamatani's social media between Twitter and Instagram, between the match, the buzz, and she was on some sort of TV show as well, went up like almost like 60,000 followers within like 7-8 days. That's buzz. That is buzz on Saya Kamatani and the promotion overall.
Speaking of Saya Kamatani, just to sort of put a bow on this segment, there's a couple of people who sort of online again, and again, this is a legitimate sort of observation, is why would Saya Kamatani, having just expelled Tam from Stardom, why would she then put her own career on the line? And I understand that it, again, is a perfectly logical question. Why would Tam do that? But if I can sort of offer an answer, this is how I perceive it. We saw Natsuko Tora, who wanted to basically break Tam at her lowest point, offer her a title match because she wanted to embarrass Tam. Ultimately, it backfired. Okay, but that's what an overconfident heel does. We've just seen Saya Kamatani effectively break Tam Nakano, completely break her, rip her away from everything that she loves. Why would she not want to really, really press home? So, you've got Tam begging for another opportunity. You've literally got your enemy, if you will, your nemesis or whatever you want to call them, begging at your feet. Why not? Why not kick them while they're down? And that's the cocky arrogance of Saya Kamatani. She's not done. If she can inflict a bit more pain on Tam, Why not? She's just beaten her. She's beaten her in the last 3 singles matches they've had. She doesn't think she's going to lose. She basically thinks that this is a given match. She's going to win. Tam is going to have to retire, and she's the person that retired her. That's how I see it anyway. And I actually think it not only gives us a great match at Yokohama, it also delivers just how confident, arrogant, cocky, and sort of self-aggrandizing Saya Kamatani is. She really does believe she is that good. She is untouchable. And I think that makes her an even better heel in some regards.
Yeah, and when we talk about Syed beating Tam how many times in a row, folks, we're disqualifying their match from the 2023 5-star Grand Prix due to
Yeah,
the injury
yeah,
that
that doesn't
happened,
count.
and which was a wild match. Oh wow, it's a wild match between those two. But yeah, if I would, again, I'm not going to tell Stardom how to do their booking or whatever because they're absolutely hitting it out of the park. But if I was going to tweak this, like the one little thing that I may have kind of tweaked a little is I would have had this match for the red belt for a couple reasons. One, I would have loved the match in Korakuen Hall because it was such an instant classic to be another instant classic in Saya Kamatani's red belt run and another instant classic that we can say that one of the greatest World of Stardom Championship matches of all time. So I would have had that match for the belt. Saya goes over as she did. Then Tam says, I want one more chance. I'll do anything. And Saya says, put your career on the line. That's the way I would have went about it. At the same time, I mean, they're clearly doing gangbuster business. But I see your point where Saya's just like, okay, I'll give you one more shot because I'm overconfident and I beat you time and time again. And you're absolutely right. Not only should she want to be the one to drive away Tam's career, but to do it in front of probably the most views in Stardom's history, the most eyeballs on it, in the biggest show they're ever going to do. That's just a super, super confident and cocky heel. So again, that's probably one of the things I would have tweaked about it. But regardless, I'm all excited for it. Very much like when we talked about last week during the tag match. We've been talking for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Like we would like them to go away from Sai and Tam just for a little bit and then to bring it back. Like maybe do something different in Yokohama, maybe Maika and Saya or Mayu and Saya or whoever. And then I did say last week, halfway through that tag match, they had a Path of Thunder, dun dun dun, and rock and roll. I was like, this has to be the match for Yokohama. These two have such great chemistry. And there's so much heat. And then we get the match in Korakuen, and it was actually right towards the end of the match when Tam blocks the spin kick of Sai and drops Sai right proper on her head. I was like, oh geez. I was like, this has to be the match for you. There's no other match I want. As much as I'm like, go away from a little bit, let it cool off, bring Mike in or something like that. I'm like, this is the match I want. This is the match that everybody wants. This is the match that's going to draw the most amount of money. How do we get there? And we got there within about 5 minutes after the match was over. So yeah, again, I just thought it was brilliant the fact that they did it here. Again, I would have tweaked it a little bit. I would have made this for the red belt if you knew you were going to go to Yokohama for a career match. But regardless, my friend, it's buzz. There is so much buzz on Stardom, especially so much buzz on the two of them. It's been interesting to see how they pivot away from this, and then who do they bring up to help draw tickets in Tam or Sai Kamatani's absence come the beginning of May.
There's only one clown for the job. But yeah, sort of Saya Kamatani is, both metaphorically and physically in the case of pro wrestling wave. She's riding the crest of that wave, isn't she? She's, she's at the highest she's ever been, and perhaps it is inflating her ego. And I imagine that is the story they are telling here, that Saya Kamatani effectively is letting her own ego get in the way of, a catastrophic mistake. We might as well sort of move on to that just before we get into the Cinderella tournament announcement. Saya Kamatani had a very good weekend because the day before Korakuen Hall in Korakuen Hall for Pro Wrestling Wave for Spring Revolution, she defended the Regina de Wave Championship successfully for a second time against Yumi Oka, pinning her in the main event 22 minutes with the Star Crusher. Elsewhere on the card, May Sarah teamed with Kohaku again as Star Fox. They were unsuccessful for the Wave Tag Team Championships, losing to the champions Yuko Sakurai and Yuki Miyazaki in just over 18 minutes. But I did just want to note that this show, Wave announced an attendance of 738 for Spring Revolution, which marks a 306-person increase, which is 70.83, almost 71% from the 432 they drew for their February Korakuen Hall show. So obviously, it's not all Saya, but I imagine that Saya was a rather large contributing factor to that 71% increase on Pro Wrestling Wave's Korakuen Hall show, Matt.
Yes, I not the sole reason, but the main reason. I mean, I'm sure that they knew they were going to get a lot of eyes on there because Kamatani was on there and May Sarah was on there. With Star Fox with Kuhagu, excuse me, and they were great in the tag league last year. But they probably put together a heck of a card, just knowing there's going to be more eyes on it. But 71% increase. Look who's on top. Look who's defending the belt. And Korakuen Hall, again, not the sole reason, but the main reason. Saya Kamatani is a massive, massive draw. They're doing great things with her, and she's doing great, great business. So, good on them and good on her because she's just a massive star in pro wrestling.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that match coming out on Stardom World if and when it does. And we might as well go on to the second biggest news coming out of Stardom this week, and that is the full announcement of the Cinderella tournament running from the 8th of March through to the 15th of March. A couple of changes from last year. We are now down to 16 competitors, down from 24 from last year. So it's the lowest it's been since 2020. A straight knockout tournament, no buys. Everybody is in the first round. What is great is that this is a continuation of last year's tournament where none of the biggest stars are present. Whereas there was a couple of stars last year, none are present this year at all. And the focus is being firmly put on younger and more inexperienced talent, which I love. And to sort of showcase that, of the 16 competitors that were announced, 7 are going to be making their Cinderella tournament debuts. Among them are Aya Sakura, Uriah Hime, Akira Kuragani, Rani Yagami. Tabata from CMLL is going to be making her debut. Azusa Inaba is making her debut. Rian making her debut as well. In terms of champions, there's only Hanan, who is obviously one half of the Goddesses of Stardom champions, Hina, who is the Future of Stardom champion, and Miwa Masaki, who's a third of the Artist of Stardom champion, that is in this field. The full field is as follows: Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, Hanan, Lady C, Miwa Masaki, Uriah Hime, Akira Kuragani, Rian, Rani Yagami, Hanako, Hina, Rina, Ruaka, Tabitha, Azusa Inaba, and Tomoka Inaba. Now, that was announced during the Korakuen Hall show. The following day, the full bracket was announced. So we now know the first round and who meets who on the sides of the brackets. And what is notable for me, and I will go through the first round matchups in a moment, is that a lot of the quote unquote stronger wrestlers or favorites are all on the same side of the bracket. So Hanan, Tomoka Inaba, Miyu Amasaki, and Lady C, who are arguably 4 of the favorites for this tournament, are all on the same side of the bracket. And by the second round, we will only have one of them left because they're next to each other as well. So the winner of those 2 matches will go on to night 2. The first round matches are as follows then. So on one side of the bracket, you have got Sayaka Kurora versus Ruaka, Akira Kuragani versus Rani Yagami, Aya Sakura versus Hanako, and Azusa Inaba versus Rian. On the other side of the bracket, then you've got Hanan versus Tomoka Inaba in what is probably the match of the first round. Miyu Amasaki versus Lady C. Do not sleep on that match. Rina versus Uriah Hime, and Hina versus Tabitha. So a couple of things to note there, Matt. I personally think it's very telling that the right-hand side of the bracket, as you look at it, Hanan, Tomoka Inaba, Miyu Amasaki, Lady C, and Rina, who I would argue is certainly a favorite as well.
Hina
as well.
Yeah.
All on one side of the bracket. A lot of people including Mayu Iwatani when she went live with Taichi recently, have highlighted Sayaka Kurora as a favorite for this tournament. And you'd look at that side of the bracket, Ruaka, Akira Kurogane, Rani Yagami, Ai Sakura, Hanako, Azusa Inaba, and Rian. You'd argue that Sayaka Kurora has got a good chance of reaching the final.
Would you, first of all, Mayu Iwatani on that YouTube feed went back to her feud with Ryogoka Kakakikan. I don't know if you saw that.
Someone asked her to do it 3 times in a row, and sensational.
What a
Truly
gem.
sensational.
I see your point there, Rob, but let's break this down. Break it down.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good, brother. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Ruaka went to the semifinals last year.
She did.
Then you have Rani Yagami, which if Rani Yagami in the next round, if Rana wins, Rana was in the 5-star Grand Prix and did great. So there's that. And obviously, they're doing a little bit of a push with her. Hanako and Aya Sakura. That's going to be another great first round match. Aya is all over the place in Japan the best way possible. She's got that little feud going on with Chi-Chi that crosses over to Sendai Girls, which is great. And Hanako made it to the finals of the Tag League last year, and she has been on Ring of Honor TV quite a bit last year. So, and then Azusa Inaba and Rian, obviously Azusa, they have big plans for. Rian is now the big beer drinker, supporting Sapporo beer. So I see the point there where it's like, she kind of has an easier bracket, but maybe not really when you take a step back and you break it down. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and I'm really excited for us to do our Cinderella tournament bracketology, which again we will be recording for a little kayfabe, a little peek behind the curtain, folks. We're gonna be recording right after we get done with this fantastic show.
Yeah, again, those 2 standout matches for me for the first round. All of these matches, by the way, taking place on the 8th of March from Yokohama Budokan. Are Hanan versus Tomoka Inaba and Miyu Amasaki versus Lady C. Lady C, whose stock raised significantly after a phenomenal Korakuen Hall performance. Again, Rina has to be considered a favorite after her really, really good performance against Starlight Kid at Path of Thunder and Rock and Roll. Obviously, everything that's happened with Tam, Sayaka Kurora has got to be considered a favorite, but Aya Sakura is also in that side of the bracket as well. So nothing guaranteed. And when I say that she is arguably on the easier side of the bracket, I mean easier as in it is easier potentially to push a 1-ton boulder up a hill than it is to push a 2-ton boulder. So, it's easier doesn't necessarily mean it is easy. So again, there's a lot of people that could potentially win it. And obviously, if you want to hear our official predictions and our official brackets and how somehow Kirsty has managed to fluke her way to a really interesting final, and I don't understand how, then you'll have to listen to our bracketology episode where we'll go into granular detail on the bracket, and I will slowly but surely just fade into a big puddle of stressy sweat.
Folks, I'm not sure if you were aware, but we just got some philosophy from Professor Rob Goodwin talking about pulling the boulder up the hill. So you get it all. Not only that, but I apologize, folks. We are an hour into this podcast, and I just want to wish everybody, including you, Rob Goodwin, happy bear blessings today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Do you know what's quite funny? Like, you have already said that before we recorded as well. So this isn't the first time that you've bought it. Oh, I love the fact that he's making an appearance on every podcast. Onto a little bit sadder news. Unfortunately, Natsupoi has been pulled from the opening night of the Cinderella tournament due to injury. She was seen hobbling quite a lot during the main event of Korakuen Hall. She was obviously subjected to a beatdown as a part of Korakuen Hall, which we'll be talking about later on. It looks like it's her ankle. She did post to her personal Instagram a video of her having her ankle heavily taped. I will be honest, I thought this was a work initially, because obviously we had Hate putting Mina Shirakawa on the shelf for a month, and I assume they were just doing the same with Natsupoi. However, if you look at the way that Natsupoi opens the ropes for Tam in the main event, and then you see the way that she has to reposition herself to do the dive to the outside towards the end, I know she's an actress as well. She's not that good an actor. So I do think the injury is legitimate, because there was a bit of a discussion online as to whether the Mina Shirakawa injury was legitimate. I'm not sure about that one. Natsupoi, I'm more inclined to believe that she's injured. Sort of adding to that is the fact that she's been pulled from the Saoriism show. Syuri Anou has taken her place in the match with Miku Kanai. So again, it's unfortunate. It might play into a storyline, which is is the one silver lining to take from this. Turns out for Cosmic Angels, it doesn't rain, it pours. The biggest thing to come from this, though, is that obviously we here wish Natsupoi the quickest possible recovery, because she is an absolute delight in that ring. So fingers crossed we see her sooner rather than later, but when she feels ready and when she is safe.
Yeah, my guess, Rob, is she's just a little bit banged up, and what they did is she knew she needed to be taking time off. May as well get hit over. May as well make it an angle. May as well, get box office out of it. They put Mina on the shelf. Let's put Natsupoi on the shelf. But the fact that, because if you watch that match, it's Natsupoi. She's still fantastic, but she's not wrestling that at 100%. And a lot of matches over the past few shows, if you go back and watch, they're multi-person matches where she really didn't do much. Even like the Path of Thunder show was her, Soriano, Yuna, and I think Aya Sakura in a multi-person match. She really hasn't done much. So if you take a look back, it's like, yeah, she's just doing a little bit, but basically putting everybody else over, and then it's like, well, she needs to take time off. She's probably banged up a little bit, which that's what happens with pro wrestling, especially the style that Natsupoi wrestles. So it's like, may as well make an angle out of it, put more heat on hate in the best way possible. You got to give Natsupoi all the credit in the world, because again, she does look like she's legit banged up. She still did that crazy dive to the outside, which when you're vaulting off that top rope, it's putting more pressure on your ankle or your knee or whatever it is that's bothering her. So you got to give her credit. She definitely went out, taking time off. The biggest thing possible was that massive dive. But yeah, I speak for all of us Stardom fans. We wish Natsupoi nothing but a healthy and speedy recovery to the Murder Pixie, as we all say, bye Poi, but hopefully soon we'll be saying hello Poi.
Yes. Well, obviously, we know we aren't going to get Tam in Las Vegas, Matt, because she's no longer a part of Stardom. So I don't know how Amber's going to regret. I don't know how Amber's going to, sort of react to not seeing Tam. I'm sure she'll be over the moon. But yeah, in terms of Natsupoi, I'm wondering, because watching her in Sendai Girls, the match between her and Maika and Chihiro Hashimoto and Manami, which is on Wrestle Universe, and is a very, very good match, as you would understand. However, Natsupoi and Chihiro Hashimoto need to see a singles match between them two. That was great. She's wrestling fine in that match. Now, I don't know if it's an injury, sort of just like, say, wear and tear over a period of time, or it's that match. But I didn't see anything in the Sendai Girls match. But again, it's an ankle. It could be rolled doing anything. Which is, unfortunate. It could be easily rolled, accidentally missing a step, or, falling funny when you're getting out of the ring or whatever. So anyway, we wish nothing but the best for Natsupoi. A very, very good replacement for Natsupoi in that Saoriism semi-main event with Syuri Anou, who, as we know, is absolutely phenomenal and will knock it out of the park. We don't know the winner of the Cinderella tournament, Matt. We don't know what that final is going to be. We do, as you mentioned, though, have a match booked for that final show on the 15th of March, towards City Gymnasium, and that is Starlight Kid defending that white belt against Konami. A couple of reasons I wanted to bring this up. Matt, can you remember the last time Konami had a white belt shot and who it was against?
Was it against Kairi?
It was not.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. If it wasn't Kairi, she didn't wrestle Momo Watanabe. Oh, Arisa Hoshinki. That was a great match.
She did wrestle Arisa Hoshiki, but she's wrestled for a white belt shot since. Well, she's wrestled for the white belt since.
Oh, Mirai. That was a great match. That was a great match. Yeah, Mirai only, Mirai's Wonder of Stardom Championship, not to get off off topic here. Mirai's Wonder of Stardom Championship run, even though it wasn't like long, the match she beat Tam for the belt was phenomenal. She had a great match with Momo. She had a great match with Konami, and the two matches she had with Soriano were really, really good. So, Yeah, that match was. I think we did that for an alternate commentary. That one was a barn burner with Mirai and Konami, and this one's going to be great with her and Starlight Kid. I'm super excited for it. Even though it looks like during the press conference they went to some British tactics, Rob Goodwin. And I don't mean the world of sport. Johnny Saint, they poured some hot tea onto Konami. How do you feel about that? Does that besmirch like if they used Yoo-Hoo in an angle that way? I may get very upset because Yoo-Hoo is very close to my heart.
Legitimately, it was almost a make or break moment for Kirsty when she found out that the hotel doesn't have a kettle. So we've remedied that because we've bought a travel kettle. We have got tea bags. So we are well and truly sorted for Vegas.
You do realize most of these hotel rooms, at least throughout the United States, they do have coffee pots that you can just make hot water in.
Not in our hotel, apparently. I'm sure we could ask for one, but it's fine. We're sorted.
Figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We're sorted.
I'll just headbutt somebody.
Absolutely.
Boom, look at that. Right at you.
Absolutely. Activate. Yeah, so obviously it was a strange press conference in more ways than one. And this segment was no different. With I don't know who bought the Starbucks in. I'm assuming it was Konami that bought the Starbucks in. But I'm assuming this was playing off Starlight Kid's love of coffee. Emptied what was boiling hot coffee all over Starlight Kid's arm, tried to choke her with a toasted baguette, which I genuinely thought was quite funny, and then pretended to spray her with the spray paint, only for Starlight Kid to realize after she'd panicked that it was just silly string. So the mind games are starting for Konami, but yes, that match is now confirmed, and it's confirmed because it's got a match graphic for the finals of the Cinderella tournament on the 15th of March. Just want to point out for those watching the tournament that both the 8th, the opening night, and the 15th, the final, both of those are going to be pay-per-views. Another match announced. The show for Barb Sasaki's 25th anniversary. Saida and Azumi were both added to that card. We knew that we got Hazuki, Mayu Iwatani, Starlight Kid, and Mei Seira already announced. We now know that it is going to be a Stardom Exhibition 6-woman tag with the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Saida taking on the Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid, Azumi, and Mei Seira. And we know, of course, as I mentioned before, that Suzu Suzuki is taking on Rina Yamashita in a no DQ match on that card as well. That is airing on March 10th, same day as Sariism Chapter 7. This will be airing on New Japan World for subscribers. So, Matt, we often say that very few people, if anyone, does multi-person tags like Stardom. Another exhibition for them to showcase that.
Yeah, again, another fun match coming up in the next few days for us. Just all over in the world of pro wrestling. Just some really, really great stuff. Keeping us busy, Rob Goodwin, keeping us busy in the best way possible. But that's smart. You have 6 wrestlers, Stardom wrestlers coming in. What's the best way to highlight them? Put them against each other in a 6-person tag match. And then you have Suzu Suzuki and Rina Yamashita in a hardcore match in Korakuen Hall. Really shaping up to be a must-see show. And the fact that is this an extra pay-per-view on New Japan World, or is it free with your subscription?
I don't know. I just know that it is available for New Japan subscribers. That would lead me to believe that it's not a pay-per-view. They tend to say if it's a pay-per-view, and nothing I've read says it is, but saying that, someone will probably correct me immediately as soon as this episode drops.
No, yeah, guys, please do, and let us know. Let us know. So this way, obviously, we will cover we'll watch those 2 matches and cover them on the Stardom cast. But no, interesting stuff. Do they say what the main event of that show is there, Mr. Rob Goodwin?
Yes. It's a 3-way, and I can't remember who's in it. It's a 3-way. Despi's in the main event, Jun Kasai, and I can't remember the third person. And I had this last time.
Probably the human Cadillac, Dorian DeVille, would be my guess.
He's the only man for the job.
Or the Mountie.
Well, Tam Nakano's a freelancer now, so maybe.
Oh, there you go.
And she did used to do death matches, so it could be Deathmatch Tam, the return of Deathmatch Tam. It's time for some good news coming out of Marigold, who I think saying they've been bitten by the injury bug would be the biggest understatement in the history of the world. However, it's time for some good news because they do have someone returning, and that person is Kazuna Tanaka, one of mine and your favorites, Matt. She will be returning at the Spring Victory Series show on the 11th of March in Shinjuku Face. She has been off the road since the 26th of December due to aggravating a back injury. She'd been off previously, came back for the Korakuen Hall show, and then was basically said that she was taking 2 months off to recover from this back injury. There has been stuff online of her sort of training more. She hasn't got the back brace on anymore, which is great. So fingers crossed she is fighting fit. She's going to have to be fighting fit because she is facing Nagisa Nozaki in a singles match. And as we know, Nagisa Nozaki pulls no punches. The full card for that show, by the way, in Shinjuku Face on March 11th, which is live on Wrestle Universe. Natsumi Shozuki versus Ryo Saito versus Ryoko Sakimura, Mirai versus Minami Yuki, Kazuna Tanaka versus Nagisa Nozaki, Nanae Takahashi versus Victoria Yuzuki in a Passion Countdown match. Yes, please. Mai Sakurai, Miku Anou, and a returning Chan Yota will be taking on Chiaki, Megaton, and Gigaton. And then Utami Hayashishita and Chika Goto versus Bozilla and Misa Matsui, which is also an interesting main event as well. But it's great to see Kazuna Tanaka back. I felt like she was really cut out, like had her legs cut out from underneath her just as she was building that momentum, Matt.
Yeah, first match back, you're going right from the frying pan to the fryer, considering the fact she hasn't had a match in about 2 months and wrestling Nagisa Nozaki. Well, obviously, they are pushing part of that big heel faction in the Darkness Revolution Army. Interesting card. Obviously, the main event looks really good. I know it's probably not going to happen, but Yuzuki needs to beat Nanae Takahashi. She really does. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But I think to further the career of Victoria Yuzuki, she needs that shot of the arm of Nanae retiring. Before she retires, which is about 2 months' time. But no, another really really solid card from our friends over at Marigold, and excited to watch it because there's been a lot of really really good shows, and obviously there's been kind of almost like a lack of shows on over the past 5-6 weeks over on Wrestle Universe, and it just one on the 27th dropped, one on the first drop, one on the second drop, and then we have this one. So when we record the Marigold Standard next week, it is going to be a long episode in the best way possible because we have a lot of great wrestling to get caught up on over there at Marigold. And again, we apologize to all of our fans over there at the Marigold Standard. It's just there really wasn't many episodes that dropped, and obviously we have 3 episodes of the Stardom cast with everything doing. But yeah, we will be back next week with the Marigold Standard, and we'll be covering a lot of shows, folks. So if you are the sickos that like the long episodes, you're going to get one next week on the Marigold Standard.
Yeah, you are. And that brings us to an end of the news. Of course, you can go to talkjoshi.com for a write-up of all of these news stories from the world of Stardom and from Marigold as well. But it's time now to look back at some of the shows from this week, and we start from Belle Sal Shibuya first for New Blood 19. This was from Saturday, the 1st of March. Again, aired in full for free on YouTube. And the attendance for Belle Sal Shibuya first was 178 people. Now, not only is this the lowest New Blood attendance in the chronology so far, an 11.4% decrease on the 201 they drew to New Blood 18, but it is Stardom's lowest attendance since the 7th of December 2023, where they drew 114 in that freezing cold building, and Rossi Ogawa put a tweet out. Now, this does actually continue a downward trend of 4 shows for New Blood since New Blood West 2 in November of 2024. We've talked a little bit, Matt, about the attendances at New Blood shows and their place on the Stardom calendar, and also the lack of stars. Again, I actually thought, before we get into the quick results, I actually thought this show was super solid. It was a really good show, and the attendance certainly isn't an indication of anything to do with the show. However, I think it is indicative of people wanting more of a star presence, perhaps, on New Blood shows.
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, these past couple New Blood shows, as we've been running, as you've been partner, because you do such a great job on the attendance and as far as the statistics go about the downward trend of these shows. These last 3 or 4 shows, they keep trending downward. However, the quality of the wrestling has been really, really good.
It
So it's
does, yeah.
not only that, but you're putting title matches on. You have a little bit of a mini tournament here. So it's like, what do we need to do to draw more of attendance? Put a bigger name on there. Put a Momo in there. Put a Sai Kamatani on there. Put an Azumi on there, a Suzu Suzuki. Put 1 or 2 of the bigger Stardom names on these shows. We've seen a lot of like Tam. Tam was now I know Tam's a freelancer, so I guess she can work the New Blood shows. They just have to pay her on a hot dog and a handshake like they do independent wrestlers over here on the Northeast. But like we saw Tam seconding on this show. We've seen a lot of these main eventers in the corner of these shows. Put them on the show. I mean, put them in a 6-person, 8-person. It'll help draw the attendance out. But regardless, I love these shows. I think these New Blood shows are great. I like the concept that they're free on YouTube. So people that don't subscribe to Stardom World or they're not sure what Stardom is, but obviously Stardom has a lot of buzz upon them. It's like, here are the lower card wrestlers on Stardom. And if you like this, here it is. It's for free. And then here's how you subscribe to Stardom World, where you can see the Sorianas, the Nasapoys, the Tams, the Momos, the Maikas, and so on and so forth. But you're absolutely right, partner. I get it. It's a business. They're definitely disappointed with that attendance down. But at the same time, the quality of wrestling here was excellent, really second to none.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the concept of the one night tournament to crown new number one contenders. I really like that because it does set the show apart. Just to sort of go back to what we were talking about in terms of downward trends, since New Blood West 2, they've drawn 246, 215, 201, 178. Now, they have got New Blood 20, which is airing on March 27th in Shinagawa Intercity Hall, which they have run before for these shows. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they draw there. Anyway, let's go into the quick results for this show. We open with the New Blood Tag Team Championships number one contendership tournament semi-final match with Sakuradamon, Aya Sakura, and Yuna Mizumori defeating Rion and Kaori Yoneyama, with Aya Sakura pinning Rion with the flurry of kicks she calls cherry blossoms in 9 minutes and 33 seconds. In the other semi-final match, God's Eye, Ron Yagami, and the Future of Stardom champion Hina, they defeated Akira Kuragani and Uriah Hime, with Hina pinning Hime with the modified jackhammer in 13 minutes and 27 seconds. In the singles match, Sayaka Kurora defeated Miku Kanai with the Tokamaki Spear in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. In tag team action, Team Stardom, the Hey team of Rina and Ruaka, defeated Team Seedling, Honori Hana and Maria Koga, with Rina pinning Honori Hana with the Pink Devil in 13 minutes and 21 seconds. In the number one contendership tournament final, Sakuradamon, Aya Sakura, and Yuna Mizumori defeated the God's Eye team of Hina and Rani Yagami. Aya Sakura once again pinning Rani Yagami with the cherry blossoms in 17 minutes and 22 seconds. Really gave this match a long time, which was great. And then in your main event, the New Blood Tag Team Championships were defended for the first time by Rice or Bread. Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama defeating the Pro Wrestling Diana team of Nanami and Himiko, with Waka Tsukiyama pinning Himiko with the top rope guillotine leg drop, which I've never seen her break out. I hope she breaks out more often because she absolutely nailed it. Yeah, a great show overall. Big fan of the tournament. And Matt, as we go to this first match between Sakuradamon, Kaori Yoneyama, and Rian, Sakuradamon easily MVPs of this show.
Hanson, what was the time on the main event?
12:01.
12:01, having some fun at 12:01. Yeah, you're not kidding, partner. When they announced this tournament and you're looking at the 4 teams, it's like you can see it going either way. Like they'll have a good match with Rice or Bread, or as we call it, Wanako on this show. But in the back of our heads, I'm sure me, you, a majority of the Stardom fans and the Stardom cast fans are like, it's got to be Sakuradamon, right? That's where you're going to get your best match from, considering the fact how they absolutely stole the show in the Loaded Goddess tournament back in the fall of last year. This was a great showing, and I liked how Kaori Yoneyama and Rina, how they set this tag team up on their last New Blood show, how they kind of had a nice little fun comedy match. I'm like, hey, let's team. This was a really, really fun match. Rihanna against somebody that is young, young at wrestling, young at life, but ever improving. And I like the fact that you have a vet like Kaori Oniyama being in this match, teaching her not only in the ring, but probably before the match and after the match as well. Just little tricks and trades of timing, of ring positioning, little things like that that ultimately are going to make you better. Obviously, Yuna and I as a team, they're it's crazy to say they're second to none in Stardom, considering the fact how loaded the tag division is. But I thought this was a really great match. It was a really cool spot where Aya and Rina are jockeying for positions for like the waist lock, and then Kaori Oniyama comes over and she O'Connor rolls both Rina and Aya Sakura. And I generally thought that was the finish because I was like, oh, you and I are going to win the whole tournament. And I bit really hard. I'm like, they're not even going to get out of this first round because what a great falsie that is. Like, what a great finish that was because we know Kaori Oniyama, allegedly as her other supposed uh, alter egos, loves to use the O'Connor roll. So I'm like, what a great way to end this match with the double O'Connor roll with her helping Rihanna out with the O'Connor roll to get the win here. But ultimately, it's a 2.9 count that I bid on. All 178 people here, they bid on as well. But ultimately, then Aya is able to come back with the flurry of kicks that she now calls the Cherry Blossoms, which is a great name for that because
It is.
she waylays
Absolutely.
poor Rihanna here. I thought this was a great match, a great opener. And as we mentioned, partner, the wrestling on this show was second to none. I thought this was one of the best matches on this show. I actually had it at 4 stars. I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought they all had great chemistry. And you clearly see that there is a lot of potential for Yuna and Aya in Stardom, especially how loaded the tag division is right now. A lot of great matches that they can have.
Moving on, then, we move on to the second semi-final between God's Eye and the Rookies, given more time than the opening semi-final match, which I actually liked because, again, who is it that is looking to prove themselves here? It's the two Rookies, and I think they did very, very well. Both women have got a good aura about them, but I do find myself drawn to Akira Kuragani. I really, really do. I think she's got something very, very special, Matt.
Yeah, you look at this match, again, you have the two rookies in Akira and Uriah, and then you have Ranu Gami, who again, Rap, she's only been wrestling a year and a half. And the fact that you wouldn't know that because of just how great she is. And then Hina, who is still only 18 years old. Yeah, she just turned 18 years old, only 18 years old. So she is still very young as well. But the fact that they gave this match time, over 13 minutes, is just like, hey, you have 13 minutes, go out there. Let's see what you can do. Let's see if you can sink or swim. And everybody swam really well, especially the two younger rookies, the actual rookies of Akira and Uriah. They worked really well as a tag team. Usually you don't see that when you have two rookies who debuted on the same show working well as a tag team. Usually it's a vet that kind of pulls everything together, makes sure the tag syncing works, make sure the psychology of it works, make sure it's built up properly. But I thought they'd done really well. I thought they were really well together. I thought Akira and Rana's their strike exchanges were really, really good and kind of the heart of this match. But ultimately, as you're building this match up towards the finish, there's only one logical winner, and it's for Hina. Obviously, Hina coming off the biggest win of her career the week before at the Path of Thunder, dun dun dun, and rock and roll.
No.
That's right. You need to get her the win over here, and she does with the modified jackhammer. Again, another great match. And one of the reasons why I like this new blood concept is if this was a match on a Korakuen Hall show or KBS Hall or whatever, this match would have like 5-6 minutes. You go in, get out, play the hits, and that's it. But because it's on a new blood show, you're going to give it time to breathe, time to tell the story because you don't have that big Mayu versus Momo match or that big Tam versus Saya match. It's like, let's see what they can do here. And ultimately, that's how you're going to get better is having longer matches in more intimate settings like they had here. But ultimately, again, solid match. I love it. I love the fact that these four wrestlers had time to tell their story and nothing was rushed. 3 3/4 stars for me, partner. And again, all of these the two rookies here with Akira and Uriah obviously wrestling well beyond their years. And Rana Yugami, she's only wrestling a year and a half. I think she's a 5-6 year veteran, not only by the way she wrestles, but just the confidence that she has in the ring as well.
Moving on then to Sayaka Kurora and Miku Kanai. What I quite liked about this is that Sayaka Kurora needed to not necessarily lead the match, but was certainly the central focus of this match. How do you think she did in that setting, Matt?
I thought she fared pretty well. We've seen Miyuki Kanai wrestle a handful of times, and I believe she was on one of the Sariism shows as well. I think it might have been the last one or the one before, and she's really, really good. I'd like to see her more on these New Blood shows, or even maybe in a proper Stardom show. maybe wrestling like Mei Sarah or Miyu Amasaki. But I thought Sayaka Kurora, I thought it was smart here putting in a singles match because there's clearly a lot of storyline going on with Sayaka Kurora, going on with Tam and Saya, and being one of the favorites for the Cinderella tournament, which obviously we have talked about, or we will be talking about, depending on the order of when you watch and listen to these shows. But 7.5 minutes, I thought maybe give it a little bit more time to kind of tell their story. We saw match 1 and match 2. I thought they gave them enough time to tell their story. This one, I wish it would have went about a minute or two longer just to see how Sayaka Kurora can do in a singles match. In a singles match around 10 minutes. Ultimately, though, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good back and forth match with Sayaka Kurora hitting the big Takamari spear towards the end. 3.5 stars for me, partner.
Moving on then to our non-tournament tag team match. Obviously, a little bit of history between Ruaka and Honori Hana. Ruaka pinning Honori Hana in Seedling not long ago, actually, at Seedling Shinjuku Winter End Show. And a little bit of hostility at the end of this between Seedling and Stardom, which, could lead to something, Matt, which I'd be very interested in.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, partner, because I do have in my notes that Hanan and Ruaka, there would seem like their exchanges were really heated, and I didn't know why. Now I do. Thanks, partner. That's why you're the best, my friend. That's what it is. And you give us those notes, folks, with bear blessings too. I can tell there's nothing but bear blessings in said notes. Ultimately, this is just a babyface match versus a heel match. You do have the heat, the cheap heat. Really easy story to tell. Ultimately, as you're building, you're right. They build towards something with Rock and Hana. Obviously, Mariah, I thought she was terrific here as well. But obviously, the big star in this match is Rena, coming off her big star-making performance the week before at Path of Thunder, dun, 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 and Rock and Roll. I really don't mean to keep bringing that up, but I guess I just kind of do. But ultimately, no, this was just about, you're getting a good story in the match, maybe a story within the story, as you mentioned before, and then just getting Rena the win over here. 3.5 stars for me, partner.
Tournament final time, Sakuradamon versus God's Eye, Matt Turner. This match was great. And you know why it was great? Aya Sakura versus Rana Yagami. This isn't the first time we've said this on this podcast. Give us what we want. I would love to see a singles program between Aya Sakura and Rana Yagami. We may get it in the Cinderella. I don't know. There's a lot of different permutations that would need to happen, but they were great during this, and they were the central focus of this match. I thought Hina was utilized superbly, coming in as sort of almost the equalizer to try and help with Rani Yagami when she was getting a lot of heat from Aya Sakura and to a lesser extent Yuna Mizumori. The correct team won. Absolutely, I think Sakuradamon should have won this, and obviously are now going on to face new Rice or Bread. Spoilers. In New Blood 20, I thought this was a great match. Really good advert for why New Blood shows are an enjoyable watch.
Yeah, for someone who really likes I gravitate towards the hard-hitting submission style, the realism style of pro wrestling. I like every style, the comedy style, the lucha style, a little bit of the hardcore style, but the hard-hitting pro wrestling is the stuff that I like the best. And this match starts out with Aya and Rana exchanging low kicks like you would see like in an MMA fight or a Muay Thai fight, where it's just like they're trying to get their range, they're trying to get the timing down, and then once they close the distance, they start trading off submissions. Really good submissions back and forth, and then we get the kick exchange, we get the forearm exchange, and then we get tag outs at the right time with Hina and Yuna Mizumori. And obviously Yuna, we talk how great she is all the time. Her and Hina's exchanges, I thought they were terrific. We got some great tag stuff between the two members of God's Eye and Hina and Rana, and then obviously Yuna and Aya Sakuradamon. They come back with their tag stuff. So easy story to tell. You have two babyface tag teams kind of just going back and forth, almost a 50-50 match. You don't know which way it's going to go. Ultimately, we go back to the great submission exchanges as they built another level up on the second part of the submission exchanges with Ron and Aya. I thought that was great. Aya counters a triangle choke and then is able to float through with an armbar. And then maybe because Tam is no longer in Cosmic Angels anymore, Rob, officially, as we mentioned about an hour ago, and Natsupoi is injured, we need someone to do the crazy dive off the top rope in Cosmic Angels. Why not be Aya Sakura? We saw her do this. It's like we saw her doing the striking, we saw her doing the tag team work, we saw her do the great ground submission. Let's add another wrinkle into her game, and then let's have her do crazy dives like you would see with Tam and Natsupoi. So why not? I thought that was great. Yuna is obviously the hammer here. Really great stuff with her and Hina. Hina is able to slow Yuna down with that judo throw, and I love it how all the sisters, Hanan, Rina, and Hina, because we know they have that judo background, that they use that judo throw as a defensive move, and then they transition to an offensive move. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Yuna's getting on a roll here. We've seen Yuna when she starts building up momentum, especially speed. It's like, look out. And then she uses that judo throw into an SDF, which I thought was great. Eventually, though, I like this spot that they do with the they do a DVD and head kick. Sakuradamon. They can use that as like their big tag finisher, because we've seen them before where their opponent is standing up vertical and they hit the clothesline kick spot, and then their opponent drops to the knees and they go back to it. They come off the ropes with more momentum, and then the opponent crashes down. I always like that as a double team spot for Yuna and Aya. And now they do one where Yuna has their opponent up for the fireman's carry, like for the DVD. Aya hits a head kick, and then Yuna hits the DVD. I thought that was great. That might be something that I'd like to see them use for a tag finisher. Aya Sakura hits a beautiful Northern Light suplex that opens up the door for the kick trio, which we now known as the Cherry Blossoms, for the 3 count onto Ronnie Yugami. This was my favorite match of the show. 4 stars for me. This was solid. This whole little mini tournament was terrific. This was a great highlight for Yuna and I think right now, because the tag division is so crazy loaded for Stardom, I think them as contenders and maybe New Blood tag champs is the perfect spot for them right now.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'd love to see them do this for a shot at Hina's Future Stardom Championship. You know, really, really lean into that tournament style for, you know, a couple of these New Blood shows. I mean, you've got one coming up, New Blood 20. You know, it's a landmark episode if you want. 20 have come and gone. Why not have a single elimination tournament, 8 wrestlers, and put the Future of Stardom champion as the prize? It'll be interesting to see what they do. Again, the correct team won, but I thought God's Eye gave a really, really good account of themselves. Ron Yagami versus Aya Sakura is a money match. And again, those judo throws, especially that one where she just explodes off camera into sort of that amazing judo throw, just brilliant, really, really good. And then, of course, we have the New Blood title match: Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama versus Nanami and Himiko. Himiko is 52 years old, Matt Turner, and she moves like she is 30. It's mad. Like, some of the stuff off the top rope, it was like, how? How are you doing this at 52 years old? I play football for half an hour. I can't walk for a week. It's mad. Tsukiyama comes out in new gear, looks absolutely incredible. I would have maybe liked this to go a little bit longer. That's my only real complaint. Nanami and Hanako had some good exchanges, but 12 minutes, maybe would have liked to have seen this go maybe 14.
Yeah, I see your point. It's your main event. It's your last match. You've had other matches that have gone longer. It's not a tournament match. It's a title match. You have new look Waka, looked amazing. Her and Hanako right now are really clicking as a tag team. What does that say about Hanako? Again, her and Ronnie Yugami, they debuted on the same show. The fact that Hanako gels really well with Waka and gels really well with Maika as a tag team, that just shows you she's great as a singles wrestler, and she's great as a tag wrestler with more than one opponent, only wrestling a year and a half, which is maddening. And you mentioned Himiko, 50, what'd you say, 51, 52?
52, I think.
52 years old. It just seems like there's something crazy in the water when it comes to the Joshi, because we have young wrestlers, you know, like Rina, Hina, 18 years old, Azumi, that they're just at a young age, they're really, really good. And then you see Himiko, and then even Aja Kong moving really well for wrestlers who their prime was, and still Meiko Satomura, Nanae Takahashi, all these wrestlers that are up there in age, respectfully getting up there in age, but still able to kick ass. And obviously Himiko really, really kicked ass here. Nanami, she was great as well. I think she's only 15 or 16, so she's relatively young. This is a great little pairing. Ultimately, this match was just to put over Hanako and Waka, to put over the New Blood tag team champions here. Great teamwork, great singles work. Again, new look for Waka. Hanako, I think, debuted this look that she had a show or two ago, but the two of them work really well together. They look good as a team. They pretty much have matching gear. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great tag stuff here. Again, as much as great as Himiko and Nanami looked, this match was just building up the New Blood Tag Team Champions, and rightfully so. It's their first defense. You're trying to really establish this brand, not only on YouTube, but really try to get more butts and seats, as Jim Ross would say, an ass every 18 inches. This is a great way to do it because this is your only branded champion in this company is the New Blood Tag Team Championship. Ultimately, though, it's just really great double teaming from the tag team champions, and then Waka breaking out the Harlem Hangover, buddy. Maybe because May Sarah did it once or twice, if you remember back in Star. Remember May and not May Sarah, May Sakurai. She broke that out. She broke it out when after she left Cosmic Angels back in 2022, and they had this little mini feud with Waka and May Sakurai, and we thought that's where Waka was going to get her first win. Maybe that's where it was. It's like, well, she's not using it anymore. She uses that ridiculous, stiff, dangerous elbow drop, known as the Goodwin elbow drop. So I'll do this. But again, I Waka's debuting new moves. Waka's great. I thought she was terrific here. 3 3/4 stars, but I agree. I think it would have been a little bit better if we just stretched it to about 14 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad show at all. It was actually really enjoyable, and I'm sure it was only just over 2 hours. It was a really quite short show as well. It was only really those two final matches that were given a lot of chance to breathe. So yeah, otherwise a really enjoyable New Blood show, in spite of what the attendance might have you believe. Moving on then to the Stardom Korakuen Hall show. And of course, this is somewhat of the main event of the show, if you will. We are moving on to the Stardom Night 2025 in Korakuen Hall, March edition, Monday, the 3rd of March 2025, aired live on Stardom World, with the main event, as we have already mentioned, airing on YouTube for free as well. The announced attendance, 1,635 people. It's a legitimate sellout with standing room only. The number, as you can probably imagine, is the largest Korakuen Hall number in terms of Stardom. It's only the 3rd time in 161 times that they've run the venue that they've drawn over 1,600 people, as well as being a very slight increase of 1.3 over the previous Korakuen Hall show they ran on the 2nd of February. However, in terms of Korakuen Night shows, which are notoriously lower attended, it's a huge 59.36% increase on the previous Korakuen Night show, which was 1,026 on the 11th of November. And again, as though I need to remind you, it is the 10th of the last 11 in the venue to surpass the 1,000 mark. So everything I've just said about the New Blood brand is everything that doesn't need to be said about Korakuen Hall for Stardom at the moment, who only seem to be trending upwards, at least in terms of this venue. Anyway, moving on to the results then. Tag team match we open with Akira Kurogane and Aya Sakura defeated Hanako and Uriah Hime. Aya Sakura going on a bit of a tear, pinning Uriah Hime in 6 minutes and 33 seconds. We saw the Korakuen Hall debuts of CMLL's Luvia and Tabata, where they teamed with Suzu Suzuki in defeating the Stars trio of Hazuki Koguma and Momo Watanabe. Luvia pinning Momo Kogo, with the modified Gory Bomb in 6 minutes and 51 seconds. In an 8-woman tag, the hate team of Rina, Azusa Inaba, Konami, and Ruaka defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi, Syuri Anou, Yuna Mizumori, and Sayaka Kurora. Rina pinning Yuna, quite surprisingly, with the Pink Devil in 9 minutes and 34 seconds, before then going on an absolute onslaught against Cosmic Angels. 6-woman tag match followed then. God's Eye, Syuri, Saki Kashima, and Hina defeated the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, and Sayarida, with Saki Kashima rolling Hanan up with the Kishkasai in 35 seconds. In the same venue, she was rolled up in 20 seconds with the same move for the 5-star Grand Prix last year. So not a happy hunting ground for Hanan when it comes to Saki Kashima and Korakuen Hall. 6-woman tag match followed that. Hate, Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora, and a returning Tekla defeated EXV, Maika, Rian, and Waka Tsukiyama. Tekla pinning Rian with the Toxic Spider Death Drop in 11 minutes. In what, as I mentioned before, might be the most entertaining sub-4-minute match in Stardom's history, high-speed championship match, Mei Seira defending the championship successfully for the 5th time against Fukigen Death 2-1 with, and Matt, I'm really sorry, the official name of that powerbomb is no longer Goodbye Peace. It's Sayonara. That is the official name of the move, which does mean see you later, in fact.
Same thing. I'm staying Goodbye Peace because we always do the sign off with this, so I'm staying with it. Get it over, kid.
Fine. 3 minutes and 15 seconds for that. Artist of Stardom Championships match next. Excellent match. Neo Genesis, the champions, Azumi Starlight Kid and Miyu Amasaki, defeating the challengers, the God's Eye team of Lady C, Tomoka Inaba, and Rani Yagami. Azumi submitting Lady C with the numero uno in 19 minutes and 50 seconds. And then, as we have already mentioned, loser leaves Stardom match. Saya Kamatani defeating Tam Nakano with the wrist clutch pump kick. I know you call it the Kikagoye, Matt, in 25 minutes and 39 seconds. Let's delve headlong into this then, Matt. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Not one match of these opening 5 surpassed 11 minutes. And there's only one that went into double figures. They were very, very keen, Stardom, to get through to those 3 main event matches. And that's absolutely fine by me. None of these matches outstayed their welcome. And I think a couple of them benefited from it. This match, for example, Aya Sakura and Hanako, we saw a little bit of heat. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of heat between them. Again, they are going to be facing each other at New Blood 20 for the New Blood Tag Team Championships. They are facing each other in the first round of the Cinderella tournament as well. I thought this was a really good snapshot of where the rookies are at the moment as well, with Uriah Hemi and Akira Kurogane.
Yeah, they seem really like they just wanted to rush to get, because the whole big thing was YouTube. We're going live at YouTube at such and such time, and they were just rifling through these matches, which again just goes to show you, 1, how hot the Stardom product is, and 2, how hot Sai and Tan was, because again, it's Stardom. Everybody's a great wrestler. Every match is good. There's no bad wrestlers in Stardom, but it's just like, we just need to get to these main matches, especially these final 3, especially the final 2. So these were just like appetizers. These were just like an extra as we're getting towards ultimately what was 3 fantastic matches. Again, just goes to show how hot the product was at the undercard. It was what it was, but we're all building towards Saya and Tam. But again, really quick match. A lot of this was just built on Aya and Hanako, as you mentioned. They're going to be in the first round of the Cinderella tournament. We got a New Blood Tag Team Championship match coming up. Akira, I thought was great. Uriah here was great. Good enough to get them some reps out there. Less than 7 minutes in your opener for 4 wrestlers. Kind of tough to really tell a long story when your big money story in this match is Aya and Hanako, which is what they went to. But ultimately, it's the Cherry Blossoms yet again, my man. The Cherry Blossoms falling in Japan. And by that, I mean Aya Sakura kicking you not once, not twice, but thrice. 3.25 stars for me.
Moving on then to the Korakuen Hall debut, or at least the Stardom Korakuen Hall debut of Tabata and Luvia. What did you think of the CMLL wrestlers? And of course, Mexican Metal Momo Kogo as well, because we know that she is a big fan of the Lucha Libre style.
Yeah, we've seen Momo Kogo compete quite a bit over there in CMLL and does a really, really great job. And we knew that she would work well here with the other 2 luchadors, but I thought they were great. I liked how it was weird that they teamed up with Suzu Suzuki, the complete opposite of a luchador, you know?
Of all the people that they had in Neo Genesis, but the others were preoccupied. So.
Yeah, and again, ultimately, this shows him remembered for those last 2 matches. But I like how Suzu went to like fake a dive and it basically almost like took Hazuki out. I would have liked to see more Hazuki in the luchadors. I thought that would have been interesting because Suzuki does kind of work that fast-paced style. If you remember when she was high-speed champion back in, I think it was like 2018, 2019, all those matches were like 5-6 minutes. They were really, really fast, told great stories. I would have loved to see a little bit more than that. This was the match that I wish it would have went longer, because the little bit I have seen of Lavuta and Tabitha, I thought they were really, really well. And plus, really was hoping that we'd get some Suzuki and Hazuki violence, but we only got just a little. But ultimately, this was a fun match. Again, less than 7 minutes. You have 6 wrestlers. 2 of your wrestlers on the star side, arguably the best tag team in all of wrestling. Wish it would have got a little bit longer, but I understand you're kind of trying to beat the clock to get to that YouTube time. 3.5 stars for me, partner.
Moving on to Cosmic Angels versus Hate. And obviously, I don't want to disparage the match at all. I mean, you look who you've got in the ring, you know it's going to be a solid match, especially as we've seen a lot of incarnations at the moment of Cosmic Angels versus Hate. I would argue that this was more about the post-match beatdown. Obviously, Rena getting the pinfall with the Pink Devil and then targeting Natsupoi with the chair. And then, of course, we saw Saori bleeding as well. Cosmic Angels falling apart at the seams at the end of this match.
Solid enough match, Robert. You're absolutely right. 7.5 minutes. Look who you have in this. Surapoi, Yuna, who's great. Sayaka Kurora, who we're clearly pushing. Konami, who's the project right now because she's getting a title shot coming up here in just about 2 weeks' time. Obviously, Rena is coming off a great match at, I don't mean to do it, but what the hell? Path of Thunder, dun dun dun, and Rock and Roll. So again, less than 8 minutes for these 8 terrific wrestlers. This was all about you're putting heat on Natsupoi. Sympathy behind Natsupoi. You're making Konami look legit for that championship match she has coming up with Starlight Kid and Oda Ward. So I get that, right? That's what we're driving home here. My whole thing, and match, again, 3.5 stars. You're right, the post-match angle where they just beat down poor Natsupoi. You're getting more sympathy on Natsupoi. I don't know what happened with Saori, how she got busted open. I will say this.
I've watched it 3 times, Matt, and I cannot work out where she gets busted open. Does she just blade for the sake of blading?
No, that I don't think it was. And here's what I want to get to. Again, we made mention a few times that there are a lot of great followers of us on social media, a lot of great photographers and people that do great editing. Somebody edited a picture of Soriano with that look on her face, all black and white, and the only color is the red. The one thing I noticed that I didn't take notice before in when I watched this live was where the cut was. The cut was above the eyebrow. Now and I could be wrong, when you bleed, and again, this is for you folks on YouTube, and I've only done this a few times in my career. You usually cut yourself right here up top because what will happen is you'll cut yourself here and the blood will come down this way. That's how you get the crimson mask. Not unless you're doing something specific to each side. She was cut over here on the eyebrow. Now, watch your feet. I'm about to drop a name. I did a weekend clinic with Les Thatcher, and he was talking about Harley Race would say if you wanted to get busted open hard way in a match, the best place to do it is above the eyebrow because that's the easiest place to bleed. That's the easiest and softest place to bleed. So where was it? Right above the eyebrow. Was it accidental? Probably. If it was on purpose, hey, I don't need to know. I don't need to know. Good on Soriano for being a badass. However, Rob, this match will be remembered for 2 things. The beatdown on Natsupoi and Soriano getting over after the match just by the look on her face, all bloody, thinking, oh no, you just messed with the wrong person. And I think you're going to see a big push from Soriano because one, Tam is a freelancer now, wink, and Natsupoi is on the shelf, banged up a little bit. So who's going to lead Cosmic Angels in these desperate times? Soriano. Who have they been teasing for a red belt match? Soriano. My guess is if Sai Kamatani does walk away from Yokohama as champion, you got to have Soriano in a championship match sometime in the summer of 2025. Because what a great match that would be, obviously, with Soriano and Saya Kamatani. Soriano's never had a shot at the World of Stardom Championship before. The fact that you're doing more heat because it's hate and you have your main person in hate, Saya Kamatani, as your red belt champion that just dispatched Tam Nakano and that just hurt Natsupoi. I think it's a brilliant story, but that look on her face, that may have sold a lot of tickets for a match coming up in 3 or 4 months because it was, whether it was intentional or not, again, it's above the eyebrow. My guess it was hard way and may have been accidental. She made the most out of it on just a look. Just a look. You're like, oh, damn. Oh, damn. Hate, you're in trouble. You're in trouble because the Ice Queen is coming for you. Multiple Tom's Tundras.
Yeah. I didn't think it was possible for Saori to have more aura than she ordinarily does during her entrance. But yes, that whoever it was that edited that photo, chef's kiss, absolutely tremendous, and what a visual as well. This could be a real breakout point for Syuri, and I say breakout point, she's already a two-time Wonder of Stardom champion, but you know what I mean, into that red belt picture, this could be that
100%.
moment that she can grasp that opportunity with, arguably the two people above her in Cosmic Angels in Tam and Natsupoi, out of commission for varying reasons. Moving on then to a match that I imagine our review is going to last considerably longer than the match itself. Hanan... She needs to beware the Kish Kasai. She really, really does, because this is twice in less than a minute in this very venue.
Rob, I don't know how Stardom pays their talent, right? From what I understand from certain wrestling, I've had friends of mine that have worked for the biggest wrestling companies before, and from what I understand is you have a contract, and then if pending, you get paid on the house as well. So the biggest house in the history of Korakuen Hall for Stardom. Look who you have in this match: Syuri, former World of Stardom champion, former winner of the 5-star Grand Prix. You have Hina, your future Stardom champion, Saki Kashima, former 2-time winner of the High Speed Championship, Mayu, who's done everything. Hanan won the Cinderella last year. Saya Ida, Hanan obviously won the Goddess of Stardom Championship and the tournament. So my guess, when it comes down to the pay scale, there might be a little higher up on the totem pole. And again, if Stardom pays on the house based on positioning in the company, a lot of people made a lot of money in this match for doing nothing. And you know what? Sometimes, Rob Goodwin, for these wrestlers, how much they abuse their body for our entertainment, good on them. Because if you would have just seen this result, and again, I've had people that only saw the result. They're like, "Oh man, you kidding me? That's what they did in this match." And I always say, before you critique anything, go and watch it. Like, if you critique a movie, like, "Oh, so and so said this match was terrible," well, go and watch it and have an opinion yourself. You understand Stardom. You understand Saki Kashima in this building. This is match of the year, buddy. This is match of the year. This match is match of the year to the point where I didn't rate it. I thought it was funny, not only because we've seen Saki Kashima sneak in that Kishi Kasai, the fact that she used her own partner, Hina, as like a sacrificial lamb so she can do it, and she threw it into her sister. Like, there's so many different layers of psychology and storytelling that happened in 35 seconds. Saki Kashima afraid, Saki using Hina to throw her into her sister Hanan to get the win. I just thought that was genius. And then as they're leaving, Saida's like, what? Like, Saida, out of all people, is like throwing her hands up like, are you kidding me? Like, I drove to the building, or we took the bus to the building. I got in gear. I got this fantastic tan. You can tell Saida's all jacked up. She got this pump on. For what? For what? But ultimately, it's a fun match. And again, the fact that she used Hina to throw her into her sister, just again, if you're reading this result, you're like, I wanted to see Mayu versus Syuri. Sure, we did. I want to see Hanan and Hina go at it. I want to see Syuri and Hanan, because they had a great match at the 5-star Grand Prix last year. There's so many different great combinations. You'd want Saida and Syuri wailing on each other. Sure. The fact that you didn't get it, and the fact you're like, oh, that makes so much sense, just shows you the genius that is Saki Kashima. And again, Rob, we're on the clock. We need to get to that YouTube time. So what's the one match you're going to cut down? It's this one, and it made sense.
I mean, we know Mayu Iwatani. We know that it is not easy for her to get to the right venue. So the fact that she turned up to the right venue to wrestle a match where she did not make it into the ring is brilliant. Really makes me laugh. Moving on then, 6-woman tag, EXV versus Hate. And in a similar way to the previous Hate multi-woman, this was again more about the post-match beatdown. And the reason it was more about the post-match beatdown was because of obviously Tekla attacking Maika in particular, continuing that feud, but also the return of Mina Shirakawa, who came in and had a present for all members of Hate, and that was spinning back fists. And credit to Natsuko Tora, who sold that like an Looney Tunes character that had an anvil dropped on their head. It was brilliant. Mina hit this spinning back fist. Natsuko Tora went down like a tree. It was such a good sell. But again, I feel like that was more what we were getting towards with that, even though we still had some really good little pockets in this match.
Yeah, speaking of Mina, Rob, I don't know if you saw, but about an hour or so before we started to record, they announced that she's going to be on the cover of the next issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and it's solo. It's so not Solo Sokola, but Solo. But I mean, I don't know if there's ever been a Stardom wrestler on the cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated solo. I know when in 2022, when Syuri was the number one wrestler in the PWI 250, it was her, Kamatani, and Starlight Kid, because I think they were 1, 7, and 9. I remember
Yeah.
that because obviously Kamatani was white belt champion, Starlight Kid is Starlight Kid, and Syuri was the red belt champion, but Syuri was number one that year. But I remember the three of them on that cover. But they just announced that Mina, and I saw it. They already put. Of course, I bought it. But yeah, Mina is on the cover. Just Mina on the cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I don't know if there's been a Stardom wrestler that has been on Pro Wrestling Illustrated solo. And again, if I'm wrong, folks, just let me know. You know how to get a hold of me. Leave something in the comment section or whatever. But that's great on Mina, and that's great press for Stardom overall to get Mina Shirakawa. Again, she might be, as far as worldwide status goes, the biggest star on this loaded roster of Stardom. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This match was about the post-match angle, and a lot of it was building up Maika, because Maika looked like an absolute badass here, considering the fact you have Momo Watanabe, the Hammer, in this match. You have Tora, who defeated her for the red belt in this match, and Tekla, the person she's feuding with. I thought Rihanna was good here. She wasn't in that match that much. Waka, great sympathy on the selling. But Maika came in here, she was all about dropping that hammer. Really violent exchanges with her and Tekla. Great stuff with her and Momo. Her and Momo Watanabe have really great chemistry. Ran through Tora, really looking like a badass, and ultimately was some cheating that led to just Tora hitting those brutal cannonballs. And then eventually it was the double underhook death drop from Tekla on Rihanna. 3.5 stars. Again, solid enough match. But then Mina comes back. Mina comes in, cleans house, and then she gets jumped by Tekla. So there's another post-match beatdown on the return of Mina Shirakawa. We see Natsupoi's on the shelf, but now Mina is back. So that's really, really exciting times for Stardom, getting Mina back. I think it was last week when you were saying that even though obviously everybody in EXV is really good, they're lacking the depth in that main event scene without Xena and without Mina Shirakawa. So now that Mina is back, so Maika does have some backup, because I think now we're going to start heating Maika up. I think that we're going to get that big match with Chihiro Hashimoto. My guess is that's going to happen in Yokohama. I think Maika gets the win there. I think we heat Maika back up to a big, big title match, maybe at the Goddess Festival in her hometown of Fukuoka. Maybe that's where they go with it. But oh yeah, ultimately another post-match beatdown. Again, this show was a lot of making hate look like the awesome badass heels that they are, getting wins, bending the rules, breaking the rules, post-match beatdown. The rules don't apply to them. They can care less about your rules because they are on top, and they clearly dominated this show.
Moving on then, Matt, and the High Speed Championship match, we did talk about when Saki Kashima was the first person to undertake this new rule set alongside Mei Seira. We thought, it was a good match, but we thought there would be wrestlers better suited to that new rule set. So again, for those who aren't aware, 10-minute time limit, 2 out of 3 falls. And when I thought that, and I'm the biggest clown fan that there is, Team Clown, I didn't anticipate Fukigen Death being the person that I will go, yeah, that's who this rule set suits. And I don't know what I was more surprised at, Matt. The fact that she broke out a damn moonsault, or the fact that she actually managed to hit a brainbuster, and not only hit a brainbuster, but hit it from the top rope. So lots of surprises from the Clown. And we also find out that Mei Seira is carrying around a pack of invisible cigarettes. Honestly, the more you know a person.
Kudos to the ref. Knowing this is a big show, 1,600 people, possible fire hazard with not one, two people smoking in the ring, and he put a kibosh to that right away. So it wasn't Daichi, it was the other ref, I forget his name, but he did a great job. Great job. You realize, like, if this match catches on fire, not only are we going to miss our 2 big main event matches, there's 1,600 people here, Rob. This is a really big fire hazard. So you have to condemn I say all the time, referees, they need more love in pro wrestling. The fact that this show was saved by said referee, kudos to you, good sir. All joking aside, you're right. This one went like 3.5 minutes, and it was near fall after near fall. Really great stuff back and forth. Obviously, Mei Seira gets the win, fall number 1 with the shooting star, which is just absolutely insane how she does it. And then you have Fukigen Death getting the win with the O'Connor roll in fall 2 just excellent stuff back and forth. And the fact that Karyo Inuyama, allegedly, Fukigen Death, is able to wrestle these 3 falls this fast, and she's doing it in face paint, and the fact that she's doing it in a full clown outfit. And again, that building is packed with people, 1,600 people. So not a lot of room for the air to go in certain places. And the fact that she's not breathing heavy, the fact that she's clearly smoking in the beginning of the match and probably might have been smoking before the match. So that's not helping your lungs. It just goes to show you what a complete badass that Fukigen Death is. And then again, I guess when you're a space clown, Rob, maybe your body genetics are a little bit different than us humans. I don't know. You're absolutely right. I think the last time Fukigen Death broke out the moonsault is when she challenged Mayu for the SWA championship. Like really bringing that out. She's got a really great moonsault.
She has.
It's really good form. And the fact that I'm almost positive she didn't hit it with Mayu. Obviously, she crashes and burns here. Goes for the moonsault, misses the moonsault. We see Mei Seira going for the checkmate, which I wish she would hit more because that's a really great move. And she doesn't really even tease it that much anymore. But the checkmate gets blocked with a roll up. And I thought that was a really great fallacy because a lot of people
really good false fight. Yeah.
A lot of people bid on that. Ultimately, it's just that insane high speed, high angle drop that she hits that just crushes your face. And then she hits the sayonara, aka the goodbye piece power bomb for the finish. 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was great. The fact they were able to tell 3 different stories in 3 falls in just over 3 minutes just goes to show you just what a great, when tapped upon the shoulder, how great Fukigen Death is. Really, really. And again, Mei Seira, I say she's like right there with Azumi and Starlight Kid as far as the most talented wrestlers in all of wrestling right now. To me, it's like Will Ospreay, Azumi, and then like you can throw Mei Seira in that mix for like the 3 or 4 spot. She is such a talented wrestler in every aspect, whether it's a straight up match, whether it's these high speed matches, the new high speed rules, the singles matches, the artist matches. She's a special talent. And I think that she's going to have a huge breakout year here in 2025. And I'm all for it. Again, 3 3/4 stars, just a super fun match.
Moving on then to your semi-main event, and what a fantastic match this was for a whole host of reasons. Neo Genesis and God's Eye, Lady C take about the best match she has had in Stardom. Just an explosive start, desire to prove herself, and then you've got Azumi, who is, for all intents and purposes, playing a little bit of a heel role, almost being disparaging towards Lady C, saying, is that all you've got? And you get this wonderful closing segment with Azumi just being bludgeoned by that big boot. Nobody does that big boot better in Stardom than Lady C. The choke slams from off the top rope. What the hell? Starlight Kid bounced across the ring when she got hit with that. But then you've got that beautiful visual of Azumi submitting Lady C with that numero uno, and you can see the pain in Lady C's face. Absolutely brilliant selling. And that would have been enough for me. That exchange between Azumi and Lady C that bookended this match would have been enough for me. I'd have said, that's a great match. But then you throw in Tomoka Inaba and Starlight Kid. And those two were brilliant. With the limited time they got in the middle of this match, they maximized every possible second. And if we are building towards a program between Starlight Kid and Tomoka Inaba, as we should be after one of those kicks from Inaba, because she did absolutely decapitate Starlight Kid with one of them, there was no pulling that, then I think we have seen a little flicker of what we could see, because these two were brilliant together. And that's not to sort of put down the interactions between Miyu Amasaki and Rani Agami, but for me, this was all about those two exchanges, Azumi and Lady C, and Starlight Kid and Tomoka Inaba.
You're absolutely right. There was a few stories that they were able to tell here. And obviously you have Azumi and Lady C starting this match out. Obviously Azumi is one of the stalwarts in Stardom, a main eventer. And again, I just made mention probably the most talented wrestler, maybe in all of wrestling, her and Will Ospreay. And the fact that like Lady C dominates Azumi in not dominates, but basically gets the advantage on Azumi to the point where Miyu has to come in. And we see some O2 line teamwork to kind of cut down Lady C. We get some great stuff with Lady C and Starlight Kid. And again, there's great exchanges with Lady C with everybody. Rana was great here in her limited spots in this match, but there was 2 up Lady C in this match. And let's start putting the building blocks towards a Starlight Kid versus Tomoka Inaba Wonder of Stardom Championship. We saw them kind of tease it back at the beginning of January. It really seems like we're going somewhere. I know there are a lot of listeners to this show that do think that Tomoka Inaba is winning the Cinderella tournament, and then she will cash in and get that title shot to Starlight Kid, which obviously we will talk about, or you've already heard, or we'll hear afterwards, depending on the order of these shows coming out this at the end of this week. But excellent stuff with Tomoka and Starlight Kid. And when they started giving us that, I'm like, we'll just get a little bit. We got quite a bit, Rob. We didn't get one bite at the apple. We had about half that apple. And let me tell you something. I want that whole bag of apples that is Tomoka Inaba versus Starlight Kid for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Give me that like a 17 to 20-minute match, whether it's in Yokohama, whether it's, Flashing Champions, whether it's Korakuen Hall has been getting a lot of really great stuff, whether it's Korakuen Hall coming up maybe on 4/2, which that building's the tickets are almost sold out for that show a month in advance with no matches announced. It's just incredible. Really great stuff. Miyu and Ron Yagami had really great form exchanges here. Really, really great stuff back and forth where Rana would get the advantage on Miyu, and Miyu would have to use one of her variations of the DDTs to kind of get the advantage. Ultimately, we get towards the end of the match, and Starlight Kid goes for that springboard Cabrata, and Lady C just stops her and just hits maybe the largest choke slam in the history of Korakuen Hall. I mean, she just got Starlight Kid up, and Starlight Kid, you're right, just bounced right off that canvas. And again, it's a great visual because it's probably the most visual thing you remember about this match. And it's Lady C and Underneath Talent doing a big move to Starlight Kid, not only a main eventer, but Wonder of Stardom champion, Rob. So that's a huge, huge thing. Putting Lady C over. Again, this match is just building Lady C up to look like a killer. And rightfully so. They did a great job building this match up over the last few weeks, making Lady C look like a killer and using Tomoka and Rana to set Lady C's offense up, which is what happened towards the end. Again, you're building Lady C to look like a monster. Ultimately, for Azumi on the third try, finally hitting that La Mystica into the numero uno, because then you built that move up as well. There's so much different psychology and so many different storylines that happened in this match in 20 minutes that they finally meld in at the perfect spot. Again, nobody does tag wrestling, whether it's 2-on-3, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, or 5-on-5 better than Stardom. And this is the classic example. The fact you get Lady C over in this match, that's the big thing to come out of this. In a loss, it's perfect storytelling and a great job on Azumi and Starlight Kid, who are your two big main eventers, making Lady C look like a badass, ultimately to really, really putting in everybody's brains where you're going to get a Tomoka Inaba versus Starlight Kid championship match somewhere in the future. And by the way, it's going to look like this. And then we get that amazing closing stretch with Azumi and Lady C. The fact that Lady C is so much more imposing, like because she's so much taller than Azumi, but Azumi properly brings those strikes towards the end, breaks down Lady C's arm, gets the submission win with the numero uno. We haven't seen Azumi win too many matches as of late with that double arm bar, the numero uno. I'd like to see her get more wins like that because that's a great, great submission. This is just another great Artist of Stardom championship match partner. This was great. 4.25 stars for me.
I actually, for once, I actually like this match a little bit more than you. I gave it 4.5. I thought this was tremendous from all 6 women. But to see Lady C get the spotlight that she deserves, and to see what we could have in a singles match between Starlight and Tomoka Inaba, I am very, very excited. We've talked about it. Tam versus Saya, we've talked about all the ramifications and everything to go along with that. But Matt Turner, the match itself, aside from all of the stuff that went on afterwards, because we don't need to retread old ground, the match itself was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Let me get the one little negative out of the way. I know a lot of people wanted me to comment on this, and this. I just want to touch upon this. Obviously, I don't like interference in wrestling, not unless it serves a certain purpose. And I know some people are like, there was too much interference. I get that, but you have to understand the magnitude of this match. This is, and I talked to you off this about air for a little bit. You have your 2 leaders of these factions. And I know you're like, wait a minute, Matt, Tora is the leader of hate. It's Saya Kamatani. She's the red belt champion. She's your big ticket draw. So you have your 2 leaders of the factions here. And you have all the faction members out there, all of Cosmic Angels, all 84 members of hate. Maybe that's why they had over 1,600 there, because maybe 200 were members of hate.
There you go. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Hey, there you go.
I see
Here's
what you're doing,
see
Stardom.
what I did there. Now, and kind of when this was breaking down, I remembered, if you remember to the angle back in 2001, when they did the invasion angle, where it's WWF versus WCW and ECW.
Mm.
Regardless, I know a lot of people like they should have brought the stars in from WCW, yada, yada, yada. You remember the blow off of that was the Survivor Series, where you had the WWE people and versus WCW and ECW, and it was winner take all. You know, it was Vince and Linda versus, you know, the parents versus the kids, WWF versus WCW, ECW. Rob, you had some badasses in that match. You had The Rock, Stone Cold, Jericho, Kurt Angle, Kane, Undertaker. All people throughout their careers have bended and broke the rules before. That match, as good as it was, you could have bended and broke the rules a little bit because you're like, oh, I need a legal tag to get in. I'm like, your job is on the line. Your boss's job's on the line. Don't you think it should have been a little bit more chaotic? That's what this match was. It was chaotic from everybody else
Yeah, it was.
around the ring. Now, you get your first interference when Tam starts building her offense up, right? Tora trips Tam. And I even said, I think I even yelled, oh, GD. Obviously, I'm not going to say, I'm sure you know what I said. Amber just started, because it was early. Amber got up. And if you remember how much I cursed during the Suzu versus Saya match, because stage crowd is terrible and it freezes all the time, she thought that my feed froze. So she goes, did your feed freeze? She was just getting up. I said, no, it's on Stardom World. That's the platform that actually works. I was like, we're getting interference already. And as soon as Tor tripped Tam and they took Tam to the outside, what happened? All the members of Cosmic Angels were like, hell no. And you got a wild brawl. You got a match within a match, because then you got the Cosmic Angels members versus the Hate members. It's like, oh no, we're fighting for Tam. And obviously Tor and the rest members of Hate are fighting for Saya. And it didn't really intervene in the match too much. And if you remember, we did an alternate commentary. It was a cage match with Bull Nakano and Aja Kong, and it was a wild brawl. I just remember like Medusa wound up getting her nose broke. There was like a brawl on the outside, and it just added to the match. And listen to the crowd, it added to the heat. Eventually, Cosmic Angels and Hate, for the majority of this match, kind of take each other out. It's just like, okay, now we take each other out. Now we have this great match with Tam and Saya, and it's great stuff back and forth. Again, we've seen them have 3 great matches for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, especially the one at the first Dream Queendom and then at World Climax. We saw these two have a great match of the year candidate back at the end of Dream Queendom just a few months ago, where Saya won the championship. So there's a lot of heat. There's a lot of familiarity there. You know, I know you make mention before last month about how with Rena and Starlight Kid, you felt something, like you feel something. I felt like even before the entrance, or even before the bell rang, because you just had that aura of Tam, massive star, Saya Kamatani, massive star, Korakuen Hall, 1,600 people. It's bigger for the red belts, career versus career. I had goosebumps before the bell even rang. You add that into it. You add the fact that you're throwing bomb after bomb after bomb. You have the two factions fighting outside, brawling all over the legendary Korakuen Hall. I hope everybody got their merchandise before that match happened, because if it's, you know, you might have bought a t-shirt and all of a sudden it's in a different section in Korakuen Hall. And then you get this just stiff slap exchanges back and forth. You get Saya brings back out the chain, so you're bringing that back into it. You get the tease of Saya doing the Rana onto Tam, which she did to Tam back in and not at World Climax the first time, that the very first Dream Queendom. That's like you going back and forth with that, hitting the dives. The fact that you get that insane exchange on the apron. You get Tam hitting 4 perfect German suplexes back to back to back, which I don't think Tam gets enough credit for how great her German suplex is. And you get the perfect bridge. You get Tam going for the violent shooting, only for Saya to dodge the violent shooting and come down with a sick double stomp. And then the slaps, the forearms, the headbutts, they just echo in Korakuen Hall. And there's this one spot where Saya's ramping up her offense, starts going with the kicks. She goes for a leg lariat. Tam catches it, and she drops Saya Kamatani on the back of her head. And I can almost hear in heaven Dr. Death Steve Williams and Mitsuharu Misawa high-fiving, saying, damn right, girls, you're making us proud, because that was a proper Dr. Death versus Misawa style back suplex landing on the top of the head.
Right on the top of that.
Oh my goodness. And then of course Saya tries to go to the top rope. Tam stops her. Top rope tiger suplex, because it's almost a rite of passage between these two. Saya Kamatani hits the Star Crusher, and the commentating team, and again, I speak very little Japanese, the commentating team made this match so much bigger because they were just up and down, and just huge, playing off the crowd as well. Hits the Star Crusher, Tam. But the Star Crusher defeated Tam back on the 29th of December at Dream Queen to win the belt, kicks out at 1. And even the commentators are like, 1. Tam will not be denied. She fires up. She hits another insane violent screwdriver. Kamatani kicks out. She hits the Twilight Dream, and then it's broken up by Tora and Natsupoi. And I went back and watched this. So and it's Daichi as the referee, and I think Daichi, in my opinion, is the best referee in all of wrestling. Daichi is looking at the shoulders of Saya Kamatani. When he looks up when the count is broken, it's Tora and Natsupoi. What happens is Tora tries to go in to break up the pinfall, and Natsupoi tries to stop Tora from making the pinfall. And so it's basically the two of them break up the count. It's referee's discretion. And again, folks, I understand you might be saying there was too much interference. It's referee's discretion. This is a big match. We see it all the time in these big matches in Stardom, especially these TAM matches and Saya matches where the match is on the outside for way more than 20 seconds. If you go back to Dream Queen, to All-Star Grand Queendom, the first one with Julie and Tam, they spent a lot of time, Rob, 5,500 people, the main event of the best Stardom show ever, on the outside. Daichi counts both of them out, and you get a double count out in your main event. Where does the heat go? Goes on the referee. Referee's not drawing any tickets. You need to let it play out. We see it in sports all the time. We see it in sports all the time when you have a big match, whether it's in the NBA, the NFL, whatever. If we see people, sometimes the referees will let it play out. Let it play out. We're not going to be calling fouls. Let it play out, because ultimately we don't want a referee's decision to stop this. So I like the fact that he let it play out, and the fact that it was Natsupoi and Tora breaking up the fall, because it was Natsupoi on one leg, mind you, trying to stop Tora. So you got to give Natsupoi credit there. Natsupoi's face was like, oh, I inadvertently broke up the pinfall because I was trying to stop Tora. My one little complaint after that, all the faction members come in, and then Konami grabs Daichi by the head and throws him out of the ring. So he doesn't see the interference, but Konami just threw him out. So I was like, you could have done things a little bit smarter. What I would have done is, Sakura is clearly a huge piece to this puzzle. I would have had her go for a spear and accidentally hit Daichi. That's what I would have happened. Or have maybe Konami pull Daichi in and that take Daichi out. That would have been maybe the only one little thing I would have changed. There was a really great ref blind spot where Saya Kamatani almost goes for like a backslide on Daichi to like distract him. That leads to the mist on Tam. I really enjoyed that. We get great back and forth stuff there. It takes a Tora pipe shot to take Tam out. And I like the fact that it was not a new move. We've never seen Saya beat anybody with the Kikagoye, as I call it. And I think she should have a really cool name for it. I would have maybe wished that maybe Kamatani would have won a tag match or two leading up to this with that. But I liked how Natsupoi gets the mist. Tam gets the mist. We got colors everywhere. It's all chaotic. We have this brilliant match that's going back and forth. And then you see Saya get the double wrist. And you know she's going to kick Tam. And Tam's looking at Saya like, don't do it. Don't do it. And there were several points in this match where you can see a little bit of the Golden Phoenix in Saya Kamatani. Again, this is to quote some Star Wars, brother, there's still some good in her. There's still some good, and it's there, and that's going to play to a bigger story, whether it's this year, next year, the year after. There's definitely something there with Saya Kamatani's eventually babyface turn, and there was some seeds planted here because Tam's just like, she can't stop it. She can't stop it. And she's just like, don't do it. Don't do it. And then she finally hits it. She gets the cover. And I even said that's got to be the finish of the match. Gets to the 3 count. This, other than the fact that I wish they would have built up the Kikagoy a little bit more, but I think she should be using that as a finish because she's not obviously doing the 450 or the Phoenix Splash. I think she should be using it as a finish because Saya Kamatani is a very explosive wrestler. And when you're an explosive wrestler or explosive athlete, what are you using? You're using your legs. She has very strong legs. And you think about that in a shoot aspect, you have nowhere to go on the double wrist, and you're bringing the opponent in as you're kicking their face. She should definitely be using that as a finish. I would have built it up a little more and then give it a cooler name. I thought this was great. I thought this may be their best match they've ever had, and they've had some classics. Mm-hmm. This is not only 5 stars for me, this is the best match I've seen all year in all of wrestling, which I know I said that with Saya and Suzu. Now, to me, this is Saya and Tam. This is the match of the year for me. 5 stars. I thought this was terrific. I thought the brutality, I thought just the aura of this match, I thought with the factions fighting added to this match. I thought the crowd interactions added to this match. I thought the commentating added to this match. I thought just the insane stuff back and forth between these two added to this match. And again, we were about a little more than halfway through this match, and I was like, I know this isn't the final match between the two. Clearly, there's an angle coming up, which we got 5 minutes afterwards. I was like, this has to be the main event for Yokohama. This is the match I want for Yokohama. As much as I was saying, let's let it breathe a little and give it to Saya and Maika. This is the match you're drawing tickets to. This is the perfect play, another play setting, the perfect, way to build towards it is having this. And we had so much interference that, again, to me, added to the match. That's just the brilliance of Stardom. And now the one little thing people are complaining about that happened in this match, now we're taking away for Yokohama. And to me, Rob, I wouldn't be shocked if I'm saying this is another match of the year. Again, we mentioned this about 2 hours ago when we first started recording. I wish this was for the red belt. And the main reason why is, one, I want this to be another great match in the catalog that is Saya Kamatani's run for the World of Stardom champion. Her match with Tam, to me, was 5 stars. The Souza match was 5 stars. This, to me, was 5 stars. I just wish it was for the red belt, even though it kind of felt like it was. It really, really did, just because of the aura of it. This is as good as pro wrestling gets. I thought this was great. It got so many people over. It got the two factions over, because you built hate up throughout the entire show. They try to cheat here, and Cosmic Angel's like, we're not having any of it. We're not having any. We have Natsupoi on one leg. The last thing you see between the big faction brawl is Natsupoi on one leg doing the dive. Eventually, Del Toro is able to sneak in and get the pipe shot that does Tam in. But the fact that we're building towards this match in Yokohama, this was brilliant. They put it on YouTube for free, brilliant. And the fact there are pieces together now. We have Saya Kamatani babyface turn. You can see it. You saw it in her face. You saw it in her face. Storytelling, pro wrestling, nobody's doing this better than Stardom. This makes me so happy to be a Stardom fan. I had goosebumps watching this match 3 times in a matter of 2 days. This was brilliant. This was genius. These two, their chemistry they have is second to none. Arguably the greatest rivalry in Stardom's history, and we are not done yet. Again, 5 stars, match of the year. Not match of the year candidate. Take the C out. It's my match of the year.
And there you go. I don't think you'll find a better review of that match than the one Matt Turner has just given you. Tremendous stuff. And the story is by no means over yet. Obviously, we talked about all of the post-match stuff at the start of the episode, because we like to do things in a weird order here on the Stardom cast. But again, to get our thoughts on that, go back to the start of the podcast. So a couple of things left before we sign off. Stardom have announced the full card for the Yokohama Budokan show, the first night of the Cinderella tournament on March 8th. Obviously, you have got all 8 first-round matches of the Cinderella tournament, which we have already talked about. We have then got a 5-way battle between Luvia, Meisera, Koguma, Waka Tsukiyama, and Fukigen Death. 3-way tag team match, FWC versus Syuri Anou and Yuna Mizumori, and Azumi and Suzu Suzuki, a Neo Genesis pairing we don't see very often. Tag match then, Peach Rock versus Syuri and Saki Kashima. Maika and Mina Shirakawa will take on Natsuko Tora and Tekla. And then in a special tag match that is currently put at your main event, but again, this card order is subject to change, Tam Nakano, the brand new freelancer appearing in Stardom, and Starlight Kid versus Saya Kamatani and Konami. Psy Queen making a reappearance after the tag league. Obviously, we've talked about the Cinderella tournament. A couple of these matches obviously stand out. Those last 2 tag matches in particular. What do you predict happening, especially in that main event, Tam and Starlight Kid versus Saya and Konami? I personally would like to see Tam lose again. Really drill home the fact that she is at rock bottom again. What about you? What would you like to see with this?
That's, great point, because you're putting more sympathy on Tam, and you really need to build Konami up. Because again,
Exactly.
majority of us do think not majority. There is quite a few people that do make a good argument that Tam is going to win at All Star Grand Queendom. Again, we'll talk about that, when we get there. But I don't think anybody thinks Konami's taking the white belt off
No,
Starlight Kid.
not a single
Konami's
person.
great, but Starlight Kid is on another level. And I think you need to make Konami look legit, considering the fact that their championship match is a week from this. So I think Konami needs to get a win, either over Starlight Kid or Tam. That would make, even though Starlight Kid is the Wonder of Stardom champion, and Tam Nakano is no longer under contract of Stardom, Tam Nakano is the bigger star around that team, and I think it would mean more for Konami to get a win on Tam, especially maybe if it's like Saya putting the boots to her, that sets Konami up there. So I'm going to go on a limb and say Konami gets the win over Tam Nakano, but I can see it going really either way. I can see Tam getting a win kind of on her redemption road. I can see Kamatani getting a win here. But I think it's going to be a great match, considering the fact that you look at the Cinderella tournament, you don't have any big main event drawing stars in the Cinderella tournament. Even though Tomoka Inaba and Hanan are phenomenal wrestlers, they're not big time draws. And again, you're at the Yokohama Budokan, where they're going to try to get, 2,700 people. And I think they're going to lean on this tag match quite a bit to draw, because you have Starlight Kid, big star, Konami, great heel, Tam on one side, Saya on the other. So, and then you have Mina Shirakawa's return as well. I think that should help boost some ticket sales, because the ticket sales for all these Cinderella shows, they do like they're doing pretty well, considering the fact that you don't have a big red belt match, or you don't have, your Hazuki's, your Maikas, your Mayus, your Sai Kamatanis in the tournament. So it's going to be interesting to see what the numbers are on these three shows when we get to it at the end of next Saturday, buddy. Just like the end of next Saturday is the end of the Cinderella tournament, 3 days, and then we move right on to a jam-packed April.
Yep, semi-finals and finals will be taking place on the 15th, so we will know the final four this time next week. And Matt, there seems only one way to end this podcast. We were disappointed that we thought we might not see Io Sky in a prominent position at WrestleMania 41. On this latest episode of Io and Kairi Watch, Matt Turner, take it away.
Yeah, there really hasn't been too much Io and Kairi watch, because it's been a lot of Io stuff backstage. Obviously, Kairi is still nursing an injury, but we did get this match announced like 3-4 weeks in advance. So I guess we're making up for lost time. Obviously, Rob Goodwin, as you know, and longtime listeners of this show know that my bedtime is very early. So this match was the main event of Monday Night Raw. I love me some Io. I love me some Rhea Ripley. I was not watching this live. I did wake up at my normal time at 4:15 to a whole bunch of messages on my social media. And I was like, that can only mean one thing, my friend. I already knew before I even opened up my phone, it could only be good news. It could only be good news. And there I saw it. My phone didn't ring off the hook, especially from our good buddy Chad, who again has a big WWE fan. He said, wait till you see this match. Now, Rob Goodwin, have you got a chance to see this match yet?
I have, yes.
Yeah, so this was phenomenal. So I knew it was going to be good. We started off with the big lockup, buddy. Did not put that over at all this show. We get the big lockup. And again, the fact that like Rhea Ripley is so much bigger and more imposing than Io, but you believe that lockup because Io wrestles like she's 7 foot tall. And the one thing I want to point out is obviously Io is crazy over, like especially in the tag matches, especially when she gets the hot tag. She's crazy over. She got a good pop coming out. Rhea Ripley's on a completely different level. Like she is so massively over, maybe with the exception of like CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. I'm not going to say Cena or The Rock because they're not full time, and maybe Jey Uso, maybe the most over person in the company, and maybe top 4, top 5 most over person in all of wrestling. I don't think there's another wrestler with AEW or New Japan more over than Rhea Ripley, which is insane. But I think this match is great. You have speed versus strength to start. Rhea gets the giant swing onto the floor to Io, smashes her head off the canvas, and then does her best Maika impersonation, hits the deadlift German suplex onto Io onto the floor. Io must have been watching the best of Waka, because Io's first big move on the comeback was that cross-arm lung blower. And I think I've seen just about every Io Shirai match like ever. I don't think she's ever done that before. So she was like, let me go to the Waka playbook on this
Absolutely.
one.
And why not? Why not?
Clearly it worked. I like that. She's the Quesadora double stomp for a 2 count. We get a forearm trade off between the two, which again, you believe, because Io is a legit badass, even though Rhea Ripley is like 8 inches taller than Io. I like that. Rhea locks in the prison lock. Io rolls through, escapes. We get an apron fight. Io then does a single arm DDT to Rhea on the apron. And then Io comes in. She's using her high-speed offense, and then she runs into an insane big boot from Rhea Ripley that Io does like the shooting star sell on. I thought that was great, and they showed it over and over again slow-mo, and Pat McAfee and Michael Cole did a great job putting that over, and it looked like it was going to spell doom for one Io. However, Rhea goes for the Riptide. Io blocks it, counters it with the DDT. Then Io goes to the playbook of all of the members of Damage Control. She hits the corner running Dakota Kai Yakuza kick. She then hits the insane elbow for a 2 count, and then she locks in the crossface chicken wing, also known as the Oscar lock, onto Rhea Ripley. I thought that was great. Io follows up with the bullet train. She goes for the moonsault. Rhea stops the moonsault, and she hits this insane wicked top rope belly to back superplex that Io lands on her neck, almost as dangerous as Saya Kamatani did in the match we talked about before. That was nuts, absolutely nuts. These two are absolutely pulling out all the stops here. Rhea locks back in the prison lock. Io then rolls through. Rhea, her shoulder eats the post, going back to that, the psychology back to the shoulder. Io then hits a sunset power bomb, dropping Rhea Ripley onto the barricade. That was nuts. The fact that she went from outside the ring to the sunset flip into the power bomb, and instead of power bombing on the floor, she dropped Rhea like neck first onto the barricade. I thought that was terrific. Rhea gets thrown back in the ring. Io hits the moonsault. Everybody bites for the finish. Rhea gets her foot up on the rope. The last possible second. That was terrific. Then Rhea Ripley then rolls to the outside. Io says, no safe spot here. Hits the best suicide dive in all of wrestling.
Absolutely.
And then that was insane. Then goes for the Ase moonsault. Rhea Ripley blocks that. She hits the electric chair slam onto the table, onto Io. And then we see a little shoving match with Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley as we're building to their WrestleMania match. So we think. Rhea gets a little bit too cocky, too confident. She decides to hit the Riptide, not in the middle of the ring, Rob, going, but to the top rope. When she does, she gets a little bit too cocky, a little bit too distracted by Bianca Belair. Io Shirai, being just the insane worker she is able to position her body in midair to hit a top rope Frankensteiner, and then the best moonsault in all of wrestling for the 3 count. And she got a massive pop here. New champion, Io Shirai. Supposedly going to WrestleMania. We still have some time where some chicanery will happen, but I will say this, Rob Goodwin. Io Shirai, the most beloved Stardom wrestler wrestling in the WWE, is now defending the belt, walking to WrestleMania, WrestleMania 40, WrestleMania 41. You know what those shows have in common, Rob Goodwin?
They are both numbers.
You are right, but they are both shows that myself and you will be attending. So we are 2 for 2. Every time we've gone to a WrestleMania, Io will be walking in as champion. So that's 100%, buddy. I know you're all about stats. I'm going to give you one. So that's 100%. My guess is because Rhea Ripley is such a massive star that they're going to turn this into a three-way.
Yeah.
A three-way, which I think that they will, and I hope they do, because I think there's an underlining story that doesn't need the belt with Rhea and Bianca, and then maybe Io walks out as champion, Rob. Oh,
Fingers
can you imagine?
Crossed.
This was a great match. Again, Rhea Ripley is the biggest women's star in this company by a mile. Io Shirai is the best worker, male or female, in my opinion, by a mile. These two needed each other. Io needed that. And I thought this match should have happened at WrestleMania. Putting Bianca in there, I got no problem with because she's great. But Rhea needed this great match with Io because she's a good worker. She's not on a level as Io, but really who is? And then Io, as much as she's a star, she needed that rub from Rhea. This was just absolutely great and got everybody talking. This was a must-see match. And finally, Io back on top, my man, where she belongs. So I'm super excited. I really hope that they don't do an automatic rematch, then Rhea wins. And it was just like, all for that. But my guess is going to be a 3-way at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't think you will find many people disappointed in, because that's a match we haven't seen. It feels special. It feels like a WrestleMania match, but big ups to Io Shirai, Io Sky, whatever you wish to refer to her as. I mean, she is now a Grand Slam champion in Stardom and a Grand Slam champion in the WWE. She's the first person to achieve that. Obviously, incredible stuff. And, she is easily the best worker in that division and quite possibly in the WWE full stop.
I think Gunther is the only one that people, and again, it's subjective, but like I know Gunther is the only one that I think you can make an argument. I love Sami Zayn. I love Kevin Owens. Obviously, CM Punk trained me for pro wrestling. I love CM Punk. Cody's a great worker. Roman's a great worker. But as far as match quality goes, to me, it's EO. To me, it's EO.
Yeah, she's a cut above. She really, really is. And she's someone who walks in, just has blow away matches with whoever she is in the ring with. So to see her walk into WrestleMania 41 as champion, all being well, great stuff. It really, really is. And ladies and gentlemen, what a way to finish this episode. I mean, it's been an action-packed episode, let's be perfectly honest, but what a way to end it. Thank you so much to all of you for listening. We truly do appreciate you and all of your support. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can literally find us everywhere. Leave us a comment. A 5-star review really helps us out as well if you can. If you haven't, then maybe consider subscribing to Patreon. Patreon.com/StardomCast. We can get all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 solitary a month. You can also check out the website, talkjoshi.com. for all of your news, reviews, podcasts, archive, all of that good stuff regarding Stardom and Marigold. You can find us on social media at the Stardom Cast or on Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram at Talk Joshi. You can also find me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matt Turner. Sounds off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions. You just want to wish me bear blessings. The easiest place to get a hold of me is Matt Turner OF on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Blue Sky, and the TikTok as well. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine as well. As we did get 2 emails from Steve this week that were great. We did not get the rules. We did not get the rules for the deathmatch pineapple, the deathmatch pineapple match with Yuna and Fuki and Death. Maybe soon. But anywho, Rob Goodwin, his arms are stretched. He's ready to go. The email address, simply, folks, is the StardomCast StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Stardom Cast. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you because, like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast because we're all together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.